welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Sarah Griffiths, Rob H, Ben White, Maximum Gravy, Austin Whitsitt, John Kays, Tommy Swagnuts, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
No, I think it's deliberate. You can't tell me
It is deliberate.
You can't tell me that America can't make a good car. They do it deliberately, which is even worse.
So I can say they don't make a good car. You just say they don't make a good car and it's intentional.
Yeah, on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
the Japanese.
Insult,
okay.
Insult right.
Okay. Thank you. Don't get too triggered. By contrast, the Japanese can make a good car and do.
Yeah, because they know American cars aren't made good on purpose and don't, so that's why they have such a share of the market. That's
Again,
why.
Exactly.
Again, delusional, simply because the Honda was introduced to the American market just meant that they introduced a car to the American market, but you guys kid yourselves that they did it because your cars were, like it was simply because of something you did that they make good cars.
End it here.
You're just kidding yourselves.
How big is Japan?
I mean, America used to make good cars. They used to. And then they started getting bad batches of paint. Everything used to rust.
Oh, yeah? When was that?
Here we
I don't know,
go.
back in the 80s.
You think...
when they used to make good cars.
Let me get it straight. You think 80s American cars were good? Let me get this clear.
No. Those were the bad paint batches. Everything started to rust.
That's
but
not...
back in like 60s, you know, like 69 Nova.
Oh, even better. You think 60s
that?
American cars were good? Yeah, super reliable. Yeah. No.
I'm gonna end this here.
Ah, come on, what's wrong with it?
What's the name of the first car?
Let's keep talking.
The first car? Model T what? Not Model T England. Not Model T Brit. Model T Ford. It's done deliberately so we can keep buying.
Was the first car? So you think? Sorry, let me get it straight. You think the Model T was the first car?
Well, commercial, yes.
No. First mass-produced car.
Exactly.
What do you mean exactly? So somebody took, like it means something. Yeah, first to mass-produce it.
What are you going to go by a guy who built a car and he could only use it? That don't count. When you mass produce it and you make it available for the world, then you're somebody.
And in this corner, the New Yorker. And in this corner, the Londoner. Today, it's stars.
Kick Nathan's ass.
Tomorrow will be stars. Look, it's done on purpose.
Right. I'll take my Nova. I'll take my Nova and I'll kick your little Mini Cooper's ass.
Okay, like the advice given to Neil was what, Neil? Buy a Japanese car.
Oh, and I would too.
Right. What did you buy?
Like Subaru.
You bought an American?
Yeah, like Subaru.
Yeah, Subaru are cheap.
No, I bought a Nissan thinking it was Japanese, and I still got stuck with an American car.
one triggered
I've
American
had
at a
2
time, please.
Subarus. I love them.
Hold on. Shut up with the Subarus. We're talking about my car here. When your car breaks down, then you can dominate the conversation. Anyway, I thought I
One
was
broken down car at a time, please.
I thought I was
No,
buying a
my
Japanese
cars
car.
don't break down.
Oh, jeez, man.
You just ignore my advice.
Little turbo boxer motor. My little turbo boxer motor kick your ass in the snow and everything.
Okay,
Well, have you got a
try
Subaru?
this again.
Have you got a Subaru then?
Yeah, WRX 2016.
Very nice. Anyway, my advice to Neil was buy something Japanese that's actually made in Japan. And he bought something that's made in America. That's just the reality.
The hell I
of this.
know was made in America. A Japanese car, I'm thinking it's Japanese. What do I know? Even when I tried to buy Japanese, I bought American.
Hey Neil, I got some advice for you.
That's not true. Neil's just excusing away. Neil asked me about Nissan, and I said no, don't buy a Nissan. Did I not, Neil?
You told me buy Japanese.
Yeah,
if I could find a Camry.
I said Nissan's owned by Renault. Yeah. I said don't buy a Nissan.
You never told me that.
Yes, I did. I know what I told you.
Yeah, but there was a certain year that they sold it.
So you read between the lines and decided to ignore the advice and say, well, no, if it's this year, then okay.
Hang on. Based on this logical way of thinking, next time I go to have Japanese sushi, I got to ask if it was made in America?
Well, obviously it'll be made in America. But there's a difference between ordering sushi from somebody who's Japanese and skilled at making sushi, who's happening to just happen to make it in America, versus a car company that gets a factory in the States to make their car. Well, that's very different, because then it's equivalent to somebody going to Japan, figuring out how to, watching somebody make it, and then coming back to the States and making it there. Well, that's not the same as your skilled Japanese guy who's travelled over to make it. It's not like everybody in the Nissan factory is Japanese.
Why would the Japanese agree to have parts of their vehicle design made in America in the first place? I know where I'm going with this, but I'm asking if...
You built it. It's your problem.
First of all, do you know why they're able to have such great technology? Do you know why? Because for so many years, they didn't have a military to finance. We were their military.
Yeah, excuses.
You can say that as your bill to repair your Nissan comes in.
Damn it.
At least they had protection. Anyway.
Hey, where are all the British cars? What do you guys make over in Britain, Nathan?
Say again?
I said, where are all the British cars? Problems. Where's the British car manufacturer? Aston Martin? That's the only one you guys have left, I think, right?
They're not owned by us anymore. I'm pretty sure they're owned by some Russian consortium.
What about McLaren?
Yeah, McLaren, I suppose. You count them. That's about it. Lotus, but they're probably owned by some Russian company now. There's plenty that are made here.
So we make...
But likewise, there's plenty that are made there, like this Nissan, right?
Yeah, I was just saying, we make shit cars, but you guys don't make any cars. What's up with that?
Yeah, take that. You lie me?
Yeah, we don't make anything anymore. And when we did, it was garbage anyway.
No, this is a in my conspiratorial mind, this is to destroy America. So you purposely put out regulations and high labor costs through unions, and it has a domino effect. It takes a while, but eventually, you know what? The Japanese do make their cars better. So I'm going to start buying Japanese. So everyone starts buying Japanese. I did in '76. I bought my first Toyota short bed truck, and it went over 350,000 miles, and then I sold it. And it's still going probably. But the whole point is then they say, okay, well, then if you want to sell your cars, then make sure you make parts of it or make all of it here in the States with American labor. So the unions get involved and everything else. And so instead of being front charging and beating everybody with car technology and putting out the best product. They make everything to fail here. And then they say, well, it's okay. The Japanese have to make theirs here. So if they buy Japanese, we're okay. And if they buy ours, they keep happening to rebuy it because we make crappy cars. At the end, America dies.
I know a guy who has had a Toyota Corolla, and it went through every one of his children. I think the car finally died at 650,000 miles.
Yeah. No, they make great
whatever
cars.
You do.
That's insane.
Yeah, that is pretty insane. Whatever you do, don't buy a Nissan Xterra though. Worst Nissan ever.
Is that true that the Subaru outperforms everybody in the Autobahn?
No.
Pretty much.
No.
The Irish guy told me that.
The Subaru owner by any chance?
No, not at all.
It's just good, cheap cars. So back in the day, right, we had Colin McRae rallying in a Subaru. They suddenly had this very good driver in a pretty good car, and it won a lot. Well, from that day to this, every revision of the car has stayed the same. You know, they can tune it up a bit and it gets a little bit more horsepower, but the 0 to 60 time is basically exactly the same. The quarter mile time is basically exactly the same. As it gets fatter and heavier and the engine stats look better, but they're not giving you anything. So the car's been static. But what you get is a really good, cheap car. You know, very good performance for what it is. Is that to say that one of your V8s that you can buy off the lot in the States won't absolutely whip its ass? Of course. You can, off the lot, you can buy stuff in the States that's 7, 8, I think maybe 850 horsepower for a Demon engine or a Elephant engine. And these are fitted to stock cars, so you can buy them off the lot. And you can run like a 10-second quarter mile in them. Just nuts.
Yeah, the Grand National.
Yeah, actually, those cars are actually banned from the drag strips because if you don't do any modification and you just buy it off the lot and take it there, you're not allowed to race it.
Really? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, like the Hellcats and all them, like the Jeeps too, because they come factory at 800 horsepower, and because you did no actual modification yourself to bring it to that horsepower, you're not allowed to bring them on the track.
I don't know about that. I've seen plenty on the tracks. I've watched them go up and down the tracks.
My friend had a Grand National.
Yeah, if you modify them, but if you don't do any modification, you're not allowed. It's all for modified.
It sounds very made up to me.
Yeah, Grand National. Used to race it everywhere. The thing was a monster.
Yeah, but Subaru will take you out back and kick your rear end.
Boom, boom.
Grand National only made, I think it was only 2 years, and that's it, or 1 year, I think.
As Scotty Kilmer would say, that the Boxsters and the Boxer engines are money pits. So the Subarus are great for, 60, 70, 80,000 miles if you've got a warranty. They're great. But then beyond that, they just fall to bits. And if you try and tune them up, they blow up. They just crack. So a friend of mine's just got rid of his Subaru and replaced it with an Audi. But while he had it, you know, he ended up going through, he replaced the engine, and then he rebuilt the engine, and then he had to rebuild it again, I believe. You know, he went through several engine rebuilds on this thing. At one stage, he bought a second car with a whole other engine in it, just to strip parts from it to make his car work. Now, bearing in mind, he probably bought it for £2,000 or £3,000, and then sold it for, I think he told me I think he got $27.50 for it. In other words, what he paid for it. But in the meantime, he probably, over the course of its ownership, dropped 10 grand into this car, you know, just to keep it going. But he was trying to get more horsepower, chasing horsepower from it.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens, because everybody that I know that has a Subaru, like even the older, like 2002, the Bug Eye or even the Hawkeye, They literally have to dump so much money into it. And like you said, they have to buy another Subaru to pull parts off of just to keep the one that they have running. It's quite funny, really.
Yeah.
So what about electric cars? Are they better?
What do you mean better?
What, like your Teslas?
As far
Your
as
Teslas?
maintenance and things like that, like, you know, the amount of work that you got to put on a gas guzzling car that maybe gives you 80,000 miles before it goes. What's the difference with an electric car? Because I know nothing about them.
It's very simple, Neil. They charge you more.
There's got to be benefits to the engine and stuff like that, right?
Of course, instant torque. So yeah, they accelerate really quickly. They've got a limited range at the moment. That will improve. The facilities to charge them at your given destination, they will improve, as will the charging time capabilities will improve. At the moment, it's early days for this technology. That said, it's been around for for an eternity. It's not a new technology, but you know what I'm getting at. The stuff that we're seeing is all new. Is Tesla good? No, they're glued together pieces of crap. Of course, just watch Rich Rebuilds and you'll see how crap Tesla are. But, that's like anything else. It's just not built to last, which is a shame, but that's how it is.
I remember Ted Danson was on a talk show, and this is in like the mid-'80s, and he was talking about his electric car that he had.
That was a lovely story.
Did you know that...
But that's the mid-'80s. Now we're just getting into it now. And he was saying, he goes, I guess the look wasn't as sleek as it is now, if it even is slick. But he said a bunch of young guys pulled up to him and were laughing until a light turned green and he gunned it and he took off on them.
Been going around for a long time as well, since the 80s, because we've had those sorts of motors here for milk floats. So it's not a new thing. People have been adapting those electric motors to do that forever.
And I know why we're talking about cars.
I was just reading an article this morning. Back in like the early 1900s, they had these cars that ran off the battery. They were electric, and on a single charge, they, in their ad, they say it can go 1,240 miles on a single charge. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is a particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, Neil, and Refracted Curvature, who seems to have disappeared, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, Righteous Force also. So welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, good to have you. Should we do a bit of housekeeping?
Yes.
Let's let Arwin in first. Hello, Arwin.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. We can do some housekeeping. Let's see how we get on. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere at horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey.
Did you join to answer the Earth curve question? Because we had a slight mumble from Arwin that there was no evidence of it. Seems like the most critical detail in this debate and discussion, but there we go.
Soundly's bridge cam? Is that the best that they've got? I think that's the best evidence that they've got that they don't cite anymore.
Those were the days.
That's optical. That's optical, not geometric.
Yeah, next. But those were the days. Remember when they used to show us bendy bridges and say, here's Earth curve? Oh, those were the days.
Yeah, I do remember those days when they used to come in being all dead proud, and the reality is...
Yeah,
it's
Planet
gone.
Louisiana.
Yeah, it's gone.
How is it called? QE named it that something. Planet New Orleans Parish. That's it. Planet New Orleans Parish.
New Orleans. Yeah.
Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
Hello. Good to have you.
Yo.
Planet what? I just heard.
New Orleans Parish. Out there in the swamp.
Yeah, I drove across the causeway yesterday.
What about yesterday, Mr. Distorted?
Sorry, I said I drove across it yesterday, the causeway.
Oh, Pontchartrain, whatever it's called.
Yeah, like Pontchartrain.
It
And,
really does sound like he's on the police radio and you're saying, like,
yeah.
Sierra Oscar 95.
Sierra Oscar 95 is a reference to the bill. It's one of the patrol cars in the bill, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Sierra Oscar 95 to Sierra Oscar.
I know my 1980s crap TV.
Yeah. They were the good times as well. The bill changed, didn't it, when they started changing how they filmed
Excuse me.
it, and it was
Hello.
rubbish.
So could you cut the air like a cake, ZLT, when you drove across? Was it nice and thick?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
That was, yeah, sure was, for anybody who doesn't speak robot. Okie dokie then. So we move on, or did you actually want to talk about the bill, Anthony?
No, not really. We can move on. I don't think there is any evidence of curvature anymore, is there?
No, they're going to need R for that.
Yeah. Shout out to Mitchell. That nearly fell. Shout out to Mitchell that nearly fell off his boogie board yesterday on the live stream.
It's a good point though. Who's doing that on your behalf? You know, in many ways, he gave you references. Obviously, I'm sure you know if you watched. But yeah. Do you want to explain to the audience as you brought it up what Mitch was doing out on his surfboard?
He was showing off, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was
like,
showing off.
Look at me broadcasting live, doing this, and I'm on a paddleboard today, going backwards.
I was doing the. It's difficult to do it in text, but I was doing the Jaws music. You know,
God, hello. God,
But it's not going to work, though.
Okay. Can we forget for a second that Mitch is
so clear? You would see that shark coming at a long distance.
Yes. Hello. So he was making a point about sharks, or about him being able to. She was showing. No, he wasn't. He was making a point. I thought you'd actually launch into the point being made. Why would he be out floating in equilibrium? I can't lead you any more than this.
Well, he was demonstrating that some things go down, some things go up, and some things will float on the medium in his case.
No, so he wasn't showing off then?
Sure he was. We can't go in the water over here. It's freezing.
He was not showing off.
Showing off.
Look, he's just jealous, right? Just because he's so cool doesn't mean you have to lay on a few layers of envy. Look, he was doing it in a cool way. Admit it. He was making a point, a cool point, in a cool way. Admit it. Tell me you're jealous. I am. I'm happy to admit
I am too.
He actually did more science than I've ever seen any baller to do. He actually did the egg test whilst on a boogie board in the middle of the sea, and I was like, that's impressive.
Check out
He was the egg.
Check out how green my panel are, Mitch, if you're watching this. They know how fucking cool you are. They know it.
It was, to be fair, a point of recognition. I mean, look, you've just had 2 weeks of moaning. You cannot possibly do a show without 3 screens and a yard of pixels. Do you know what I mean? And then he's just out there doing what are really entertaining and informative and educational shows normally. And then, like I said yesterday, I've got to say, it is just showing off. Doing that whole thing at sea on a boogie board. I just thought, respect, bruv.
That's more like it. That's it. You know, I'm happy to admit my limitations, and there's certain aspects, a lot of aspects of what Mitch does that I couldn't do if I wanted to. And my hat's off to him. It's like, that makes it unique, cool. It's, you know, every time I tune in, you go, wow, that looks beautiful. I don't think, my smoggy, horrible view's not as good as that, it's showing off yet. No, I just think, wow, that's so beautiful.
Do you know how cool it is when you catch a wave on a boogie board? I did it in South Padre Island in Mexico. Well, Texas, actually. But it is really, really cool.
Exactly.
I wish I learned how to surf.
Yeah. So just, you know, shower him with admiration rather than envy. You know, what he was doing was making a very good point that we argue about on a daily basis. We argue about it inside our buildings, right? He doesn't. That's cool.
But I was scared of sharks. I was spooking myself out.
He's had sharks in his live stream as well.
Yeah. So I would not go in that water. No, sorry.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have the same effect, would it, Nath? If it was you down at Coventry Municipal Pool doing the same sort of things. He is benefited by, I mean, it's absolutely stunning, the scenes he presents you each day. Yeah, I can't see it quite the same from the centre of Coventry or...
Exactly. This is Mitch. It's not just what he's doing either. It's the way he's doing it. So I strive to make every point as concise as I possibly can. You know, that's something I strive for. So to tune into Mitch and hear a point that we make, or that I make with disclaimers, and he can do it in half the words. You're like, man, that's ace. Because I look up to that. It's like, that's a skill he has got that I haven't, and I have to work really hard to try and achieve. He can do it naturally. So, you know, he's of a personality that is ideal for presenting this information. And he's worthy to give his title that he's given his show as well. He calls it Flat Earth School. And it is. And he's that cool teacher. Oh, is that teacher cool? I like that lesson. He's that cool teacher, right? Me, I'd be that teacher that was telling every kid in the class off. None of them would be chewing gum. I'd be able to see every one of their hands flat on the desks. You know, I would be that bastard teacher that nobody liked. Mitch isn't me, you know, and I've got a lot of admiration for that. It's like, yeah, you do something that I can't. Yeah, I can be stern with fundies, but, you know, which position would you rather be sat in? Me in my nice comfy chair, admittedly, it is nice. Or sat on the boogie board. Which one would you rather be? Let's be honest here. I know which one I'd rather be.
Some kids need that stern teacher, Nathan.
Does that mean that I'm the art teacher?
No, I'm not comparing us all to teachers. I'm just me in this example. Let's take it to a different example. So, if, you know, I use Hollow Man as an example occasionally, and the guy who's the main character is described as being able to get from A to D without going through B and C. Well, this is the exact same thing. For me to produce my show, all the homework and all the stuff I do and all the screens and moans about not having enough technology and all of that, Adam's absolutely right? Mitch is getting from A to D without going through B and C. And I'm like, I need those. I need the B and C. I need my desk and my monitors and I need all that. I can't do it without it, right? He doesn't. He can get from A to D without B and C. That's genius.
Mitch is hollow, man.
Right, but he also stays very focused. So Like, he doesn't really dwell off into other things too much. He really stays on the target of the subject really strictly. So,
Yeah, being concise. Exactly. That's my point.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
And keeping up with chat whilst on the boat. That was the other. Just,
I did something else too.
Yeah, he was keeping chatting with the people in chat, weren't he, as well? It's
let's just all throw in a towel.
Yeah, he kept track until he dropped his camera in the ocean.
And even then he fixed it whilst at sea, didn't he? Got it, and then the stream went down. I think I had to go for my tea. I didn't see the second half, but
yeah, but did he did he have to dive off the board to get it, or did he just grab it in the water still when it was going down? Never said.
He should have used an egg.
That was after the egg.
Or Paul McCartney, back to the egg.
Alrighty then. So as we've been chatting about him, might as well do my proper plug. So subscribe today. That's Mitchell from Australia YouTube channel and the show that he produces. Good, as obviously we've discussed it for about the last 10 minutes. Obviously we all like it as we're all tuned in discussing it right now. Is called Flat Earth School. So be here or be sphere on Mitchell from Australia's channel for Flat Earth School. Aptly named. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, and he's actually a ball buster too.
You wouldn't expect to see any Coriolis deviation if the air was susceptible by gravity and going down, go boom boom to form columns.
And I'm not.
Wow. I don't have to say anything to that, do I? There's nothing for me to say.
Yeah, man. It's gravity. Gravity makes there being no reference frame on the spinning, no reference frames on a spinning ball Earth.
Define gravity.
He did.
No.
He did. He said gas go down, go boom boom. He's included all of the disclaimers.
No, but that's the consequence of gravity. That doesn't actually define gravity.
No, because it doesn't happen. Gas does not go down, go boom boom. So saying that's an effect of gravity doesn't define gravity. Well, it isn't an effect. It doesn't happen. Therefore, no gravity. Yeah. Yes.
I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for the moment where the anti-flat earthers come out. Like, why do you keep saying that gas go down, go boom boom? Because of gravity, it doesn't do that.
Somebody made me a really cool advert, and they got me with the like Nordic guy who stops some dude from going along a certain path and hassling some woman, and then he breaks into dance, and everyone does behind him. Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, somebody took that and took me saying gas go down, go boom boom, and turned it into it was a anti-flat earther as well. Now, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, you obviously don't get this, do you? Because I'm actually taking the piss out of Thunderfoot. Gas go down, go boom boom, like solid bonded bouncy balls. That's your claim. So, turning it into a rap track is almost like Simon Dan saying you and your reference frames are ruined. Maybe they have misunderstood. I don't claim gas go down, go boom boom. You do? Hello?
Does that shock you?
See it. They don't see it. They just hear the way you say it, and that's what they think is funny. And then they project everything onto you to take away their own personal sensation of their responsibility for the claim. Right? They make you claim it so they don't have to do it anymore. That's how they see it.
I see. So when it's shown that gas does not go down, go boom boom, they can say, I see, Nathan. When you said gas go down, go boom boom with gravity that you don't claim, you were wrong. And you go, all right, I see, yay, you really win then. But no gravity making gas go down, go boom boom to force other gases up when you describe buoyancy then. Yeah, we know. Gas doesn't do that. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No, but most of the Western world believes that that's what's keeping us grounded here on the ball Earth.
The gradient.
What Arwen's just said has just made me realise something, that when they argue against gravity. This goes along with something Anthony and I were discussing off air a little while ago today. They're using a segue to not address the argument. So when you disclaim, if we've got columns of air and gravity make gas go down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash, like solid bonded bouncy balls, then there'd be no effect to see. That's essentially what, to parrot almost verbatim what you stated, Darwin. Well, what you're doing is very Bawler-esque in the respect that you're segueing onto a different discussion that we can beg the question of, which is gravity, whilst not addressing the Coriolis effect that we're not seeing. So that's quite clever. More clever than most ballers, although they do that often when cornered.
Yeah, well, it's the scattergun effect, right? So, you bring out an argument. It's obviously fallacious. So what do? You quickly fire off another argument that on the surface seems like it would account for the apparent flaw in the previous argument, but it has its own problem. So then you try to address that, and then they immediately fire off the next argument and do the same thing. So they do scattergunning fallacies. Can keep on going, and then at some point they're gonna start the routine over again. They're gonna return to an argument that you've already dispelled, so they can keep doing it over and over again.
But all those arguments are built on the Earth being a ball. That's like the cornerstone of it.
Right, and if you just keep on firing, you'll never get to the point where you realize it's all bunk.
Let's do that right now.
What about the black swan?
I was about to say, let's do that right now. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
No evidence of the R value has been debunked by the black swan and reaffirmed and beaten even worse with the sextant argument.
If Earth was
Earth radius is bent.
Yeah, John.
If Earth was a sphere, you could measure a geometric horizon.
Black swan. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Sure, Dr. Becky has.
How is she doing?
I'm not a
To
mum.
the extent.
Has she done any science recently?
Why are you asking me?
I thought you were trying to correspond with her. She still hasn't answered you?
Well, once I realize people don't want to talk, I don't follow them anymore.
But is she still doing the email science and all that?
Of course. She already admitted to all that. She does science while eating lunch and typing in things and using her mouse on the computer. That's doing science to an astrophysicist, looking at pictures.
That's because QE just came out with this scientific method about 6 or 7 years ago.
No, fancy that.
This Dr. Becky thing isn't this isn't a viable hypothesis.
I'll try to get in touch with her and see.
I like how a whole year of research and us being trained in the dark art of arguing science from a natural world point of view has descended into, is Becky still doing pseudoscience? That was a whole year.
Wouldn't it be funny to kind of attempt to do a world census? And with the premise, let's see how many scientists there really are on planet Earth. Let's just call it planet Earth, right? And then all the people reporting, I'm a scientist. And you literally test them all. Okay, so what is a hypothesis? Did you use any? Describe it. And then it turns out a lot of people thought they were scientists, but it turns out there's only 100 of them in the entire world.
I think Michio Kaku gave the answer to that.
I got to commend myself because I never say planet. I never say atmosphere. I'm just good like that. You guys always slip planet and atmosphere.
What is it that you don't say again?
I mean, in conversation, you know what I mean.
You said it twice in a row. You said, I never say that. And then you say it. I never said that. And then you say it.
I never slip in conversation. I've busted Nathan, I've busted QE, and now I've busted Alwyn.
Okay, Abba.
Busted? No, but I said it on purpose. It's colloquial speak. If you want to draw in a big crowd, if you draw in a big... No, I specifically addressed it right after I said it.
Okay, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Gradient.
No.
Well, if you redefine what pressure is, they might get away with it, but that's how they do it.
Yeah, and we can just calculate pressure and then forget about the fact that it needs to hit the surface. We can just calculate it, and then we've got pressure.
No, but you can't.
So
because you actually require that surface to calculate it, so that's incorrect.
No. What he's saying, hold on. What he's saying, Arwin, is if I sort of hold my hands out in the air and go, about this big a volume, just arbitrarily describe a box with my hands, and let's say that arbitrarily defined box that's in midair is a meter cube, then you say that's the volume that we'll calculate it for. And if it's an assertion that is in line with the heliocentric claim, then you're going to be assuming that gas pressure that is all around that arbitrary defined area is going to be at 14.7 at sea level, psi. So therefore you've already got gas pressure in existence when you start defining how much and what it does in a given area that's just a random area you assign. That's the point Anthony's making when he says that. Am I correct? I know I'm correct.
Yeah, we can forget about the actual requirement for it to collide with the surface or the insides of the container. We can ignore that. We can just calculate it as if it was doing that, and then we've got a sum.
No, but that's technically still incorrect because
we weren't saying you were wrong.
Requires a container just because you're taking a snippet out of the container and ignoring the container walls in the calculation doesn't mean that it's still based on the container walls.
Yes, you are correct. I'll try again. Yes, we weren't saying you were wrong. We were just saying you don't understand the Fundy anti-flat Earth rebuttal when they arbitrarily assign containment, technically speaking. No, of course not. It's just an arbitrary amount of area that they'll define and have atmosphere, sphere-shaped air with its pressure and gradient without containment arbitrarily assigned to this area that's a meter cubed. Now, the meter cube doesn't need anything to press on in that example because they've basically whistled past the graveyard of requiring containment to have the gas pressure in the first place. And we were, but definitely not saying you're wrong in your rebuttal to that, are we? No, far from it. You're absolutely correct.
All right.
Are you saying that they take a dynamic system, cut out a section of it, claim that is a static system, and then measure it?
That's a very concise way of putting it, yes.
It's like making an elaborate calculation and then erasing parts of the early calculations just to focus on a very tiny spot.
Well, it's focusing on the delta. So you focus on the effects that are created after you achieve gas pressure. So after you've got gas pressure, we'll describe this particular aspect. And we'll describe it in this particular amount of space.
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you don't know what question to ask if a Fundy does that, you'll go down the route of begging the question in deltas of gas pressure. The correct response, the correct question at that stage is to say, where did you get the gas pressure from in the first place?
That's exactly what Professor Phil Bell was trying to do yesterday. I asked him about 10 times to the point where a Cumo virus was actually saying, stop asking him, he's obviously not going to answer you. It was a question simple that, yeah, you're calculating for it, but how did you get it in the first place? He doesn't want to answer it. He'll do anything. He'll answer Nathan instead, or he'll answer Arwin instead. Completely ignore it, even though I asked him about 10 times. He just won't answer it.
Ask him now. Rather than, hold on, as that's been verbalised here live, feel free, verbalise that question with a question mark addressed to him personally.
Dear Professor Phil Bell, how do you get the gas pressure in the first place before you start calculating for the Boltzmann equations to give you the probability distribution for the gradient? Before you do that, how did you get the pressure in the first place?
See if we get a response out of him. As it's dragged on for a couple of days, and I know your pain when you're trying to get a fundy to actually concede. We discussed this earlier this morning. When you hear me numbering the repeated cycle of a question that they haven't answered, that's death by 1,000 cuts. So no, they haven't conceded. They'll never concede. But that point will be reiterated again and again, ad nausea. Some people moan about it. It's like, no, we can't move on until this is either conceded or it's death by 1,000 cuts with me numbering how many times this has been put to you. So number 1, let's just do it right now. #2. Is it Phil Bell? Prof. Phil Bell. Where'd you get gas pressure from in the first place to describe gas pressure deltas with extrapolations from Boltzmann formulas? Where'd you get the gas pressure from in the first place? That's 2. DOS. Twice. Should we continue?
Is he in chat? I don't think he's in hot.
Can I say something
probably.
here?
Unlike some very slick, efficient channels, without my monitor working properly, I have to click around and go to... I mean, I'm there now, but I have to find the chat. You know, some people can do it on a surfboard with a phone. Me, 2 screens isn't enough.
Okay, yesterday in chat when you were rerunning your show from, I think, the day before, there was a guy saying that pressure is a myth. That seems to be going around.
Pressure is a force.
No, it said it's a myth.
Retro Bill says for $25 US, he says, busy moving into my first home. Great to be back as a regular listener. Big shout out to the entire panel apart from Arwin.
That's not what he said. He said, shout out to the entire panel.
I can read too,
Just stir the shit pot there, lick the spoon as well.
Thank you very much for the super chat, Retro Bill, and unfortunately your sentiment was slightly hijacked by Anthony. I can only apologise. Smash the super chat to support this channel. Really appreciate it, Retro Bill. Moving on. Any evidence? Did we have distance to the sun already? Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
What is the sun?
See, that topic there, I don't know if you remember, Nathan, but like quite early on in the debates, probably before 200 or so, show 200, we had a massive argument over what is angular size, and the ball earthers were basically gaslighting, saying that angular size is just how big something measures. Get 2 rulers, create an angle with it, and measure that angle, and that's the angular size. But in the definition, it says it's from a given distance. So you need to know the distance because it requires the distance value. So, for example, an angular size is not simply 25 degrees. It's 25 degrees from a mile. And then you say, well, what is that bigger or smaller than, say, 20 degrees from 3/4 of a mile? And then you'd have to compare and contrast them with a graph because you can't do it in your mind. And basically, they gaslight you to death, even though it literally says the angular size from a specific or known distance. They'll still say it's just the angular size. It's just the measurement of the angle, even though it's black and white on the screen. Do you remember when we had that and it went on for ages and it was really, really simple?
Yeah. Now, I'd just say, after that little argument, I'd drop into the conversation. Where's this accounted for when you're looking at a building in the curve maths?
Yeah.
Where do they get an angle from to begin with?
You're always one step ahead of me here at the moment, John. While my cog's turning, going, hold on, that argument's progressed, you say things like, you're going to need an R value for that axial rotation. And it's normally, the cog's about to tick over when you say those things. So I'm very appreciative. It makes me smile every time. The rustling from Anthony doesn't, though. Shout out to Godzilla37 while we get loads of rustles. You have a rustly super chat shout out. Godzilla37, thank you for the super chat. Go ahead,
my battery's just died on my mouse, and I'm going to have to pull the battery out because I can't mute myself. So just bear with me a sec while I rag it out. Oh, actually, I've got a button here.
Okie dokie. Busy moving into Bill's old home. He charged me too much. This is all I have left. Thank you for giving me your last dime. I really appreciate it, Godzilla. Hope you're not being serious. Bill's house is lovely.
Where do you get a straight line on a globe to get an angle with? Have they answered that yet?
They don't.
Don't they call it either a chord or a tangential line? And then they say you don't even need the horizon. So they say we can use a tangential line. Oh, really? So how do you account for the other bits that are missing then? And then they don't answer it. And then you say, well, if it's a chord line, how did you get the angle like looking through the ground? You'd need to know that where the 90-degree angle is to line up to it. And
no. As soon as they say chord line, they'll need R for that. Can you ask me the question again, John?
If all lines are bent on a globe, they've claimed with terrestrial refraction, how can you get an angle to begin with?
Quote, Bob the science guy, we don't have one. End quote. That is contextually accurate. He was put that question was put to him, and his response, we don't have one.
But you only need an optical straight line and angle, right? When you're doing an optical measuring. It doesn't need to be geometric.
Geometric isn't the other way around. It's the other way around. Geometric isn't optical. You might be looking at something, but if you're measuring it and doing geometry, you're taking straight baselines if you're doing triangulation. That's a geometric consideration. Yeah, you might be looking at something and measuring an angle, but when you're doing the triangulation, you're doing it in pure geometric terms. You're not doing it in optical terms.
So you're doing it in geometric terms, but within the medium of optics.
You were here when all of their justifications, and they seem legit when we were less educated in this subject, were given to us on the other side of the coin. So why aren't we taking perspective into consideration in the begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, response from anti-flat earther, because it's geometric. Don't need to concern yourself with optics and perspective when you're dealing in geometry. Alright, seems reasonable? Yeah, it does seem reasonable. Other than when you're actually looking at something disappear from bottom up due to an angular relationship, that would be optics, you can't account for that in the geometry. Now, when you're just taking an angle to triangulate something, the same principle applies. If you're going to start trying to get distances to it, that's Anthony's point. If you're trying to measure angular size and just assert one of the distances or sizes that you don't have, it's very fallacious. Likewise, we don't assert that we get in the star's height or size when we triangulate to get a position on the ground with geometry. We just use pure geometry. That is not optical.
Right, but back in the day they didn't realize that yet, and that's why once they realized, that's when they started to claim, okay, we never claimed the horizon was geometric, because that doesn't work. It's only geometric in the diagram, in the side view diagram. Right?
Yeah, it only exists in the maths.
If you're going to use triangulation with the sextant in the real world, you're going to base it on optics. So there, sorry, it's getting so convoluted. I'm getting trouble keeping track.
No, it's fine
at this point.
It's fine, Owen. You were going somewhere with that, but go ahead, John.
I was going to say, if you had a ball big enough, like you got a ball that was a mile in diameter, you stood on it, you could measure geometric horizon to that ball. You could. That's not what the horizon is that we experience. It's not geometric because we don't live on a ball.
Precisely. So in Neil deGrasse Tyson's example, when he says that stuff is flat and slaps a beach ball that's shaped like a globe, he's describing how an ant that's 3 millimeters off the beach ball won't see the curve of the geometric horizon that is presented to an ant that's a couple of millimeters above something that's spherical. You do have a geometric limitation to your view if you are an ant on a sphere. The geometric limitation is your horizon, because that's the limit of your view at whatever distance is calculable for that size sphere based on its radius value. Well, when he slaps that beach ball and says you can't see the horizon bending from 3 millimeters above this beach ball and slaps it, that stuff is flat, well, what he's actually doing is getting you to reify the edge of the horizon that's the beach ball's horizon into your horizon that you see when you're out at the beach. So the beach ball horizon isn't the same as a beach horizon. A beach horizon is a limitation based on optics. You can calculate with the Rayleigh criterion based on the aperture of your eye where you'll get a limitation to your view, where things disappear. Well, that is optical and purely optical, and the geometric equivalent that claims that there's a physical edge to your view like an ant on a beach ball doesn't account for how your eye will also limit your view. So it's hijacked the effects of optics and called them geometry.
Yeah, he was very slick because he had flat earthers saying, see, even he said it's flat, missing the whole point and the trick that he was doing.
Yeah, see, he says it's flat, and he says you can't see Earth curve from really high. Well, like this guy in the picture on screen now, he's up high, he's at the top of a mountain. Alright, so we can't see it curving. It? What's it? Well, the horizon. So we can't see something that's a not actual location, an apparent position where the sky meets the ground, or in this case the sky meets the clouds. That's a not actual location. It's not a physical geometric limitation to your view, like it would be if you were an ant on a beach ball. Then you would have a geometric limitation to your view. This is John's point, just to bring you back in, John. Yeah, you're going to need R for that. I agree, John.
Yeah, but so that ant is definitely going to see an obstruction. That's for sure. We did this analogy with monopoly houses, didn't we?
Yeah, you must have a geometric limitation to your view if you're on a sphere. You can't not have one. So therefore, when we point out that the horizon's not geometric, it's not a limitation to your view, it's a not actual position, it's an apparent location, all of these redundant terms that are described by the word itself, horizon, then you've got a problem if you're on a sphere, because you must have a geometric limitation to your view. The edge of the sphere must be there if you're on a sphere. If it's not, and it isn't, we've debunked it, then all you've got is the horizon. And the horizon is an Earth curve.
Brian said, well, yesterday, if the horizon is refracted, then it's not geometric. And if you go and do LMS V69's 1 foot observation, and it changes from one day to another, then it's not physical either. So it's over right there.
Yeah, it's very, I don't understand. It's very easy to understand.
Okay, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Carded.
Nah, just a couple of diagrams, P waves and S waves in it.
I think the previous question answer debunks that.
Correct.
R, asking for R.
Yeah. Yeah, if there's no R, then how can you have that one exist?
Go on.
Is there any evidence of the Rumpus and his Bedford Levels reboot?
Rumpus is a liar. We do not care.
I know, but he was supposed to have done it weeks ago, and I've not heard either way. Does anybody know whether he's done it or not?
Rumpus is supposed to do a lot of things. All right.
Well, as
Still
it's
waiting for
your
that dossier that he created.
Is an equivalent, Anthony. Any evidence of the presentation that he said he would do in regards to your north end of the Isle of Man observation taken from St. Bees Beach on your belly?
Lay on my belly. Yeah,
99.9999% done. I'm almost done.
It's like 3 years ago.
Even if he had done it, could you believe him?
Say again, Scrat.
Even if he had done it, could you believe him? What his results are, considering he's a full-faced liar.
Exactly. Yeah, I've lost
Can't
interest.
do it anyway.
He's a barefaced liar. You know, it was actually on topic, although I didn't interject to say, remember when the Rumpus claimed a physical geometric sphere edge horizon blocking the Isle of Man? Yeah, well, later on he then claimed, I always claimed it was refracted. Barefaced lie. He did not always claim the horizon was refracted. He claimed the targets were refracted with respect to the horizon. End quote. Liar.
It's correct.
So that's why he's
Should
not.
have a day.
That's why he's not here. You know, once you reach the point where you're just descending into barefaced lies about what you've claimed previously, then you're not welcome anymore. It's like you're not going to help anybody on your own side or ours or the audiences or anybody. You just become a liar. They always were. If they're not lying to us, they're lying to themselves.
Maybe you should have a day when you bring all the liars back in just for an hour.
They're all the door's always open to them. Certain people, I'll just say, get lost. You know, it's not like Rumpus hasn't had a decent amount of airtime here. You can go back and check out any of the Rumpus clips. There's plenty of them, so you can see what it's like to deal with the Rumpus. And you know, there's plenty of old historic debates with him to check out. But in terms of my purpose here as an education channel, I'm trying to educate people. So to have people who are here discussing the matter with us, even if we know they're delusional or lying to themselves or in cognitive dissonance, if you just give them the benefit of the doubt, when you know they're lying, you've got to draw the line. You've got to say no. It was one thing for you to double speak around the problem. Well, the horizon is geometric. Well, we don't see a geometric horizon. Well, we do. You know, that is one thing, because I can justify it just about as cognitive dissonance in the moment. But when you start barefaced lying about what you've claimed, and in that instance, I gave him 3 opportunities after trimming out a clip and publishing it, showing what he'd said. So I was like, I've already trimmed this out several months ago, but I'm going to republish it here, which I did, after asking him once. Then he came back, and I then asked him 3 further times about his lie, quite directly, and he continued to lie, in the face of the evidence being presented to him, and having been challenged the day before, and me saying, I'm going to double check this strong claim I'm going to make in terms of your lie that's now overt as far as the evidence is concerned. Present it to you, give you 3 opportunities to correct your lie, and he didn't. Just continued the lie.
Yeah, it was a bad idea.
Well, just not welcome here anymore, basically. No credibility at all, even as a nameless, faceless troll. No, 0 credibility. Not that he had very much to begin with.
Owen liked him. I know Anthony likes to have him in.
Yeah, he's my favourite Glober because he's he's very animated, isn't he? You can hear by his tone when he gets excited. And I like the fact that he just calls everybody like the rudest of names, as though it's like a trivial name. It's like the delusion that it's okay is like astonishing.
You got to ask Brian to tell you the story when he rung him up drunk. He said as soon as he answered the phone, he was in debate mode.
Yeah, like I say, there's plenty of clips to go back if you want to get an idea of what we're talking about. But ultimately, I just don't see that there's any benefit moving forward with anyone like that. I'd rather us have these sorts of conversations, because if I didn't, all we'd end up with is discourse and lies reaching the audience, and that just doesn't serve anybody any good at all.
So if he's a liar,
Correct.
then that means he's not 6'3" like he told me. He could kick my ass because he's over 6'3". He's probably 5'3". I could kick his ass.
Well, to be honest with you, most of these people that are faceless tend to be societal rejects. They're like raggy dolls, like Gem Panda. He's like 5'2" or whatever he is. He's a raggy doll.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, he's a raggy doll. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Rumpus was some kind of small weasel, exactly the way he sounds.
Who cares?
The reason for the lie, or why he has to continue lying, is because of what he was previously asserting. His horizon, in every aspect, was that geometric edge of his ball. And post Black Swan, that's why he has to lie, because he'd have to come out and admit what he was reifying all those episodes, all the Isle of Mans, and many more. Do you know what I mean? But that's the reality and why he has to skate around it now, because now he can't reify it as the leading edge. He's got to do something else. But that's what he was doing in the past, and that's why he struggles to go back and be honest about what he claimed.
Exactly. So in the Isle of Man, the debate hinged on them claiming that there's a physical obstruction called a bulge, that's Earth curve edge horizon, blocking the Isle of Man. That's the argument. How much of the Isle of Man is blocked by Earth curve? that would be blocked physically by Earth curve. And then when it doesn't quite match up with the maths, well, the light that's coming from the target is bending around Earth's surface at this rate. And you know it's refracted because of its position with respect to the horizon. End quote, the rumpus. So you're arguing about how physically blocked something is, and if it isn't quite matching your maths, you'll bend it into a position where it's blocked the right amount. Yeah, by Earth curve, physical, and its geometry in Muppet Vision. And the justification for no perspective, it's geometric. Right, so you've got a geometric obstruction called Earth curve getting in the way of the Isle of Man, then, according to you and your claim. Yeah, until we debunk it with the Black Swan, then you need to lie through your back teeth about having ever claimed that we've got a geometric obstruction blocking the Isle of Man. That's what you've got, ballers. At the end of this, you've got nothing but lies and deceit. That's what's at the end of your little rabbit hole, fighting for the globe or scrambling to get back up to the delusion that every other fundy in the Western world used to share with you. You don't have that delusion anymore. It's gone. So what have you got instead? Deceit, lies. That's all you can do. Further you keep digging.
They have to, because if they don't, they would have to relinquish their belief in the globe. You know that. And he just can't.
That's why these people need time off from us. And by us, I mean the debate. Because it's too much, it's too stressful. If you're a glober, while you might be presenting a calm demeanour and laughing off every time you're shown to be wrong, that giggle that we hear, oh, yeah, okay, so I need half of that, isn't what they say. They just laugh and don't concede. Hence you end up with me numbering off the number of times that they haven't addressed the fact that they'll need an R value for that in most instances. Well, that pain that they're experiencing piles up to the point where a lot of these people are disappearing away from us, not because they just, well, I've got back into normie life now. No, I'm on the globe and so does everyone around me. No, they can't cope with the debate.
Yeah, Righteous, you got to check on Zinder. See if he's okay.
Zinder?
Yeah.
Chat, mate.
Shout out to no one who's joined as a lion.
I think he left on his own accord.
I think he had a Lexus rather than an Accord.
What you find is those who used to join here will now go and reside in Jose's. And in there, they're very comfortable. They don't raise their voice. They don't get anxious or sweaty or stuttering or stammering or all of the awkward behavioural traits that they do when they come in here. But they all go in there so that they can hold each other's hands, sing Kumbaya and dance around the fireplace as they do their Gregorian chants, their culty-like behaviour. That's where they go.
And with no evidence of anything and no validation, it could all stand there and say, you're going to need a globe for that.
Yeah, I said this on the other show. There's a massive difference between us pointing out how they used to claim there was a physical horizon, then they've got to lie about having a physical horizon ever been claimed because of the Black Swan. And because of the Black Swan, they haven't got an R value. So when they can't get an angle because they've got a curved surface between them and the horizon, and everything's refracted, there is absolutely no way out of the fact that they can't get a straight line for a sextant on a globe. That's the entirety in the most concise way I can give it. Yeah, Mitchell, I'm sure you can summarise it in 4 words. Yeah. But anyway, when you get to that point, you've got a concise summary of a series of argument with a progression that's taken place that you can see. For us to say, you're going to need R for that claim. Why? Because you haven't got it. Just in reverse order, because you can't get R if you can't measure a geometric horizon, and you can't get a geometric horizon if it's refracted, and the Black Swan shows that it's refracted, whereas it was formerly claimed to be blocking the Isle of Man. See, I can even do it in reverse order, because we've been doing it for so long. That's the argument that is attached to, you're going to need R for that. And we all agree, that's why we all say it so often. So when we're all saying it often, you can trim out us all saying it, because it's the argument as it stands. They see that, ignore all previous arguments that are attached to that statement, and say, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to arbitrarily say, you're going to need a globe to get a straight line for a sextant so it can measure an angle. No, you will actually need a flat plane for that. You know, you need two straight lines, not acquirable from a globe. So there isn't even a logical consistency behind the statement, let alone a series of years' worth of arguments that make it make sense. It's just a baseless assertion that you're going to need a globe to acquire an angle. Oh, really? How is it that we're going to need a globe to get an angle when you literally cannot get an angle off a spherical surface? It's curved. You need two straight lines. So it doesn't even make logical sense. So what does it become when they start saying in unison, well, you're going to need a globe for that? Well, it becomes chanting. They're just chanting that they'll need a globe because that's what they're doing mentally, telling themselves, well, this must require a globe, because in their mind, the cognition's so deeply ingrained that they're on a sphere that when all else fails, they'll just say, we'll need a sphere for that. We must, because we believe we're on one. When the argument is actually that you can't get a straight line from a sphere. So, rebuttal, you're going to need a sphere for that. Yeah, that's shite. That's just chanting, lads. It's pathetic.
Very good, Nathan. Well said. Just like when they put their housekeeping questions together. They're just copycats.
Highest form of flattery.
Neil, are you there? Neil.
He was just talking 3 seconds ago, Anthony.
Yeah, I just wanted to get his attention. Have you listened to any of the shows that are like before the show 100?
The only thing I've listened to before the 600s was QE's debate with the Rumpus.
So before 100 is basically where it was very baller heavy. There were like 5, 6, 7 ballers on the panel. And if you joined as a measly flat earther, you were obviously, it was like they were all looking at you and it was a case of, right, what we're going to batter this flat earther with now? And it was, I mean, it depends on how you want to interpret it, but it was very daunting and flat earthers couldn't join really because all you were going to get was 10 of them against you. And it was very one-sided. However, now they can't join and it's brill. So my point is go back and listen to any of the shows that are before show 100 and you'll see what it was like. It was a shit show, but it was totally the opposite of the way it is now.
Yeah, when I joined, it was like, without the Black Swan, I still think these were hammering ballers.
Well, you joined when we were discussing science. That's why I was quite, rude to you earlier when we're like, is this really going to boil down to, is Becky still typing emails and claiming it's science? Because we spent a solid year wrapping our own heads around how science had been hijacked, how everything that's claimed to be science, I still hear it. Just yesterday, Neil was talking about getting irritated when he hears people talking about atmosphere and stuff. Well, as an example, how I don't get irritated by it, I hear the acousticians talking about it being science all the time. We've taken measurements of our diaphragmatic carbon-based absorber, and it's science. This is science that we're applying when we apply acoustics. No, it isn't. It's not science at all. It's measuring. It's maths. They'll tell you how they've measured stuff and then tell you it's science in the next breath. So you're like, okay, that's just how the world is. They're under the misapprehension they've got science when they measure stuff. Okay. It isn't. Yeah? We spent a year on it. Now it's like, is Becky still claiming she's got a science when she types emails out? Dr. Becky, that is.
They're just trying to fill dead air.
I wasn't moaning.
But the world thinks they're doing science. I don't think they're aware of the scientific method. It's really pseudoscience.
But they must be. For them to want to say this is science, the reason they're employing that magic trick is because at some level they know that science means proof. So when they measure something really, really well, to the point where they've got really accurate data, they're so confident in what they're asserting that they can say this is a science. Knowing how well my diaphragmatic absorber takes away a 40 hertz frequency is science. I've really measured it well. Excuse me. No, it is not. Science deals with the physical and natural world. Physics. Physical. Yes, so you're going to be observing things in the physical and natural world and wanting to know why they happen. You building a diaphragmatic absorber, that's you building something. That's a man making something. So the phenomena that would be researched, if you want to call it science, would be explained by a man making something. Oh, what's that? You say you've got really good measurements? That's fascinating. Measurements, measure. That sounds like maths to me. Why did you call it science? Oh, because at some level you understand that when you say that word, people think you've proven something. Yes, that's why you're using the word, isn't it? So that people think you've proven something when you measured it. You didn't prove anything, though. You just measured it. You didn't validate something with an experiment. You didn't have a cause and effect relationship laid out with a hypothesis and a null. No, you didn't have any of those things. It wasn't science, but you thought it would make people believe that what you said was true. Because at some level, you know that science proves things. Yeah, it does. It's empirical. You just don't have it when you've got a measurement for something, unfortunately.
And let's not forget, that's exactly the problem with Blue Marble Science's Cavendish reboot. He measured something. He hasn't got a clue what it was. He believes it's something. He reifies it into existence as something. He calculates for something, but he doesn't know what it was because he didn't measure it. And if, in his case, for me personally, he deliberately caused it himself to deceive people into thinking it was something it wasn't. So Blue Marble Science didn't do science. Blue Marble does pseudoscience because he measures stuff and thinks that that's science. It's not. You've got to do a little bit of manipulation, haven't you?
Got to wiggle it.
Yep. I was going to say that.
Wiggle it's a reference to varying and manipulating the presumed cause of the effect you are studying. That is to say, you watch something occur in nature and go, I wonder why that happened. I think this caused it. So, an experiment would be you vary this, the thing you assume caused it. That would be wiggling it to see if it causes it. You wiggle it, it causes it, you've got the cause of the effect. You wiggle it, it doesn't cause it, you validate your null. You prove your null. So regardless of how the experiment results, regardless of the results of the experiment, there you go, you're going to prove something. You're either going to prove that your wiggling it did prove it, or you're going to prove that your wiggling it didn't prove it. Proving null or alternative. That's why the method's empirical. Now, we're taught this at a very, very young age. So from then on in, we know at some level that science proves things because we were taught it. So when we measure something, and the pseudoscience practitioners thereafter have told you about, that's proving something also. This is science too. Yeah, children. No, it isn't. There's no empirical method when you measure something. Go ahead, whoever that was.
Got to wiggle it just a little bit.
I was just going to say it's also a reference to the song Wiggle It, because like if you remember that song Wiggle It, like Neil was just fantastically renditioning for us, then that's the key to it. If you can wiggle it and cause it, then great, you've done science. If you can wiggle it but fail to cause it, then great, you've done science. You've proved the negative, essentially. That's what I did with Bob Nodell's claim. I proved the negative by wiggling it.
Go easy. Hold on. If you want to go there, I'll rip apart the non-hypothesis that you inserted into an existing one. So don't be too lofty with your claims about what you've disproven in that. You haven't. Anyway, without me having a go at Anthony live on this stream, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan... Oh, somebody smashed the super chat. Let's just shout out to Sebastian Tellio, who says, right as I was going into my intro, but if you're giving me money, I'll go back to you and say thank you very much. Oh, he's thanking me. I'm thanking you. You're thanking me. Everybody's getting thanked. But with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
because you didn't test the null, you tested the alternative, and it just turned out to be a null result.
No. You only ever test the alternative. You never test the null.
That's what he said.
Oh, I missed the first part. Sorry. My bad. I'm going to go and get milk and coffee. I'll be back later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's good to slam Bob Nodell whenever necessary.
Actually, just a second I move away, you immediately step into territory that you know damn well I wouldn't allow. Literally, the second I started to stand up. Can you be trusted? If I make a coffee, can you be trusted?
It's all right, Nathan. I'll moderate. Neil,
but bollocks, you're going to be the instigator immediately as soon as I move from... I'm not going anywhere, am I? I'm really thirsty too.
I'll stop it.
You will?
I'll stop it because I know that Bob Nodell isn't the cause of heliocentrism, and that's really the problem.
You're going to need R for that. Perfect. Right, I trust you. Trust in all of you, scumbags.
No.
But yeah, like in the angular resolution claims, like they say, it doesn't change its angular size, right? I mean, I know it's a
Is he breaking up or is it me?
He's breaking up terribly.
So it's kind of...
You're breaking up, John.
John, come back.
Drop in, come back if you would, John. John. Hey, Brian. Save us from this.
Yeah, I tried to talk a few times earlier and no one heard me. Can I ask a question to Anthony, Nathan?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Anthony, okay. Now, this is going to be on topic, okay? If I am making claims and I'm not supporting those claims with hypothesis test, and you then test what would be the hypothesis, and you prove that my claim is incorrect, and I don't concede that, what does that make me?
A dick. A dishonest dick.
Science denier.
Right, we don't need any names, but that's what people should be doing. If you have disproven claims through scientific method, then either the people who won't concede, they're either dishonest or they're grasping onto a belief that is obviously wrong.
What's wrong with science denier?
There is another option open to the person that makes the claim that hasn't tested the hypothesis. The other option is that they could say, well, you didn't quite do it the way I meant it. I meant to do it this way, and here's my test to show what I really meant, and therefore you were wrong, and correct the original error. And that's totally acceptable, and I'm all right for that. If somebody wants to correct and show that I did it incorrectly based on what I thought his claim was, then that's okay. I'm okay with being corrected. But do something. Don't describe it. Don't talk about it. Don't calculate it. Don't describe how you think it works and all that woo-woo. Actually demonstrate it. Otherwise, it's just woo-woo.
Yeah, well, the problem is if somebody is not being clear with their claim in the first place, they're not being clear about what they're actually claiming because they're trying to infer something in any way they can. Then it's not your fault if what you tested is not what they're claiming because their claim is not clear in the first place.
Yeah, that's my point. I don't know. I don't know for 100% certain because he won't have a conversation with me. I don't know for 100% certain that I've correctly tested the claim that he makes, but I believe I have. So if I've got it wrong, correct me and demonstrate it. If I've got it right, then one has to admit, and he's not. Yeah, that's not going to happen, is it?
Hey, is this better now?
Yeah.
What I was going to say is everybody knows the angular size claim about the sun that ballers repeat ad nauseum. But if you take the anti-flat earthers' claim of terrestrial refraction as true, and you can't get a straight line on a globe ever, how do you measure an angle to get the angular size?
What mean? Because they can't always see the horizon, you mean?
No, you need straight lines to get an angle. Where are they getting these straight lines to claim that the apparent size of the sun doesn't change?
Yeah, they don't have any straight lines on their model. All the lines are curves.
Yeah, so no angular sizes then.
No.
I just don't think they realize what they say when they say things like you can't get a straight, that all the lines are bent and things like that. I don't think they understand the implications of that.
They do this angular size measurement of the sun with or without one of their solar filters.
No, it doesn't matter. They can't acquire an angular size on a globe. They can't get a straight line to acquire an angular size.
Yep, this is true.
Basically, they have to assume the Earth's flat with straight lines to then turn around and say, see, it can't be flat because of these straight lines that I assumed to claim this thing is happening.
Which then makes it makes that person the victim of Alice in Wonderland syndrome, where you see a straight line, but for some reason you morph it in your mind into a curve when it's actually a straight line. That's Alice in Wonderland syndrome.
I'd be more interested, John, in the 7/6 claim would make the sunlight basically give you daylight all the time. That'd be more what I'd be interested in, because 7/6 would mean that the sunlight would be bending all around the Earth all the time.
Yeah, so they would always have daylight, at least daylight, if not the sun.
Imagine a full moon night and that effect. Everyone would have to wear sunglasses.
Yeah, that 7/6 refraction would destroy the 15 degrees an hour, wouldn't it?
I wear my sunglasses at night.
That went down well, Neil.
I don't know the rest of the words, sorry.
I think that's the only bit you need to know, isn't it?
So has anything interesting happened with like new ballers or anything like that?
I told you, they're denying pressure. That's the last thing I heard. People said there's no such thing as pressure. Pressure is a myth.
I noticed talking to one prominent baller in Discord, instead of like giving him wiggle room to talk around something, I asked him to draw it, right? Talking about the sextant. Draw me how the sextant works. And because it can't really be drawn, right? All the drawings of how a sextant works in side view never
Muppet
shows.
Vision.
What's that?
You're going to draw Muppet Vision.
Yeah, but even in Muppet Vision, all the descriptions of a sextant show a plane, so straight lines.
Correct.
That's my point. So you see, there's no talking around it when it comes down to drawing it. So, because I noticed the more advanced ballers, they can really talk around, like especially new people, right? It can really get lost in the chit chat. I'm like, oh wow. So even like with Nathan, when he handles the show, he likes to simplify things as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your point. When they draw it, they can't get around it when they draw it.
Yeah, there is no way to. Like the only other drawing we see is when it goes through the Earth, and that doesn't make any sense because then everything is out of line and the angles aren't right. There's no right angle that way.
All of their topics are doublespeak. It just takes time for you to learn how to doublespeak and spot it and then point it out and then keep asking the question that they're double speaking over until they understand that they're double speaking or contradicting themselves. And there's lots of them. I mean, the best one at the moment for me, I love asking Blue Marble Science what force accelerated his balls in his Cavendish reboot. And he knows he can't say gravity because obviously the gravity's not a force. Well, that means that leaves him with the curving of space-time caused by the uneven distribution of mass. But that doesn't give an acceleration. So Newton's isn't a force. Einstein's doesn't give you an acceleration. It gives you an apparent acceleration. So what's left for him to have caused the acceleration? And I keep saying to him, it can only have been you because you insist that your controlled variables were sorted. So then what else is there? There's only you, isn't there, Blue? So it must have been you that's done it. And I say that because we use deduction in science when we come to experiment. We deduce the cause. So, and if we're not able to prove it by causation, by manipulating it, we have to deduce that it must be somewhere else, because that's what Blue didn't do. He didn't manipulate anything, right? So ultimately, the issue is, well, there's only you left, Blue. There isn't anything. There is no other possibility. So it's like, what did you do? Did you use a fan, or was it like, did you put a candle somewhere in the heat? Was it a convection current, or was it a magnet? What did you do, Blue? And he hates it. He hates being told that he was cheating, but he was cheating. We know that because he didn't prove it.
Well, before we go on this, I kind of wanted to round out something that I noticed Nathan was talking about, and what you were talking about originally before we went talking about what you talked. Is, you know how Nathan says he was like trying to lead somebody somewhere, and they don't concede to like simple answers to be led in the direction?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a chess game, you know, you're reading ahead, right?
Yeah.
So when they're reading ahead and they know where they're going, they know what steps to avoid, right? Not to get. Yeah. And that's, if that's true, I mean, oh my goodness.
Well, of course it's true. That's why I always ask, like, when Nathan says you're going to need an R for that, well, a lot of times when we're talking about gravity, you're going to need a force for that. That's an equal argument that works badly for them, because they need a force for stuff. Like, for example, Blue said the molecules slow down because they run out of kinetic energy, and I reminded him that you're going to need a force for that. And with it being blue and running out of energy, that's a change in direction, isn't it? It's a deceleration. You're going to need a force for that, applying Newton's first law of motion. And he has to drop the conversation. He can't have that conversation.
Well, right, but to be fair, I think we do this too, like at times, you know, because all of us like have bias to some extent in certain areas, right? And when there's like a bias somewhere, you might not even aware be doing this kind of maneuvering, kind of thinking. Just to be fair, right? Not to just put it on the side.
Hold on a second. You can't quote Newtonian F equals ma to someone claiming Einstein.
No. But what you can do is you can claim that F equals ma might be the calculation, but even with Einsteinian maths, you've still got to get something to physically move with Einsteinian, right? Well, he warps space-time to bend light, but that's not an actual acceleration, it's an apparent acceleration. So he hasn't got the accelerate. And do you know why he's not got the acceleration? Because it isn't a force. If it was a force, it would be actual acceleration that Einstein gets, but he doesn't. He gets apparent acceleration. So Einstein's basically making something move from our perspective when it's not actually moving at all. That way he doesn't need a force.
Yeah, but the Newtonian quote that F equals ma, you're taking it back to the debunked classical mechanics in that. So I don't know if I would say it's as strong of an argument as you're going to need a radius for that, because in both Einsteinian and Newtonian, the Earth needs to be a sphere for those mechanics to work.
But John, out to me, I'm happy to argue it because they don't know the rebuttal to it. So although you're right, they don't know that you're right, and they don't bring it up. So I just keep saying it because they just lose, but because they don't know the better argument, I'll just keep saying it.
But what has the equation F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration, right? What really has that got to do with gravity? What has it actually got to do with this claim of gravity? It's a claim of force causing the movement of a mass.
Hang on. It depends on who you ask. Because if you ask a flat earther, it has no relevance.
Hang on. Who originally wrote it?
Well, Newton did it in his Principia, didn't he?
Yeah, and he wrote about gravitas, which is weight, and weight being a force. If you read his Principia, his Mathematica Principia. I'm getting lost. The QE has me with that Principia stuff. Principia. He wrote that in Latin. In Latin, there was no word for gravity. Didn't exist. The word gravity didn't exist. Mass was not mass. It was missa originally, then masse. When he was talking about gravitas as a force, he's talking about weight being a force. That's the basics of what he was talking about. It's a bit convoluted, but how can he use the word gravity when the word gravity didn't exist? And the meaning behind it didn't exist. F equals ma, force equals mass, right? If you go back to what he meant by mass in his Principia, where the word comes from, it means an accumulation of stuff, right? Mass times acceleration. So you push a car, you're the force. The car is the mass, as in an accumulation of stuff. The acceleration is the movement. You causing it to go from not moving to moving. What has that got to do with a force of attraction between, the Earth and other things? Smaller.
This is what I'm answering. It depends on who you ask. If you ask a flat earther, it has absolutely nothing to do with it. But if you ask them, they reify, they substitute in lieu of having a force, the maths that gives you the force. So because a mass accelerating is equal to a force, that means that if they calculate the acceleration of the mass, they therefore have a force just by doing the calculation. They ignore the fact that you need the thing to actually do the acceleration in the real world. It's like having a tow truck, right? You have to get the tow truck to tow the car home. You can't just own the tow truck. You've got to get it to do the towing. Well, they just think that, the tow truck's my maths. So if I've got maths, then my car's recovered. No, you need to still tow the car. So demonstrate that acceleration with the force doing it. And you haven't got a force. So if you ask them, it's the substitution of a calculation in lieu of an actual force. If you ask us, it's completely irrelevant. It's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. But they need it. And that's why they hang off it.
Well, this is in context of Newton, right? You're saying, what did Newton mean, or what do ballers today mean? Which one are you asking?
Brian.
Oh, sorry, I thought that. No, I'm talking about who originally wrote it. What was he originally meaning? Not the nonsense we get told. What was his original meaning? What did he originally write it in Latin? What did those words mean in Latin? What did they end up being meaning in English? Gravitas in Latin, heavy, weight. Gravity in English, a force. A force of attraction between masses, a magic force. That's what, you know what I mean? That gives weight to mass. And then when you're not within that force, you're the same mass, but your weight is different. All this rubbish. What has that got to do with the word gravitas? Nothing. Absolutely nothing got to do with it.
But Newton ascribed that meaning to it when he associated it with the movement of his assumed solar system.
Maybe afterwards, but in the word gravitas does not mean gravity. F equals ma. Well, how is that actually connected to this magic force that they claimed for God knows how long?
It isn't. It runs alongside. It's a calculation. It's not a force. So calculating a force doesn't mean you've got the force. Because I can do 2 + 2 = 4 apples, right? Doesn't mean I've got 4 apples, even though 2 + 2 does equal 4. That's what they're doing with F equals ma. They haven't got the force, but they're calculating as if they have got the force, because they need to.
Like Newton is the one that ascribed.
I just want to say, just before you go, John, no, they got an effect and a claimed cause. They don't
a calculated cause, not a claimed cause. Yeah, they do claim it, but they've only got the calculated cause. That's the problem.
Sorry, John.
Right, but their description of the effect is and the cause both are flawed because they're looking at it through the eyes of heliocentrism. They're pretty much ascribing a cause to entropy, and all the second order effects of entropy.
Well, the effect is the same. The effect is just whatever we see. But the cause that is being claimed, or was claimed, is a different. You know, Einstein had there was no cause of weight in Einstein's relativity. But before Einstein, the claimed cause, you know, of why something is falling, why something would fall, the claimed cause was not ever. It was just a claim. There was nothing behind it. There's no hypothesis test. There's no anything behind it. It's just a claim. It's a nothing.
Yep. Right, but Newton was looking at it through the eyes of heliocentrism and saying, if the Earth is a sphere, this is how you would stick to a sphere, is with this conception of gravitas that he redefined.
Yeah, but that's where he's wrong, because he didn't prove it was a sphere. Do you know what I mean? If he was saying if it is a sphere, then that's only just, you know, fantasy, isn't it? If it is a sphere. You know, you have to prove those things.
He already thought it'd been measured. You know, he was working off that as being a measurement. That the geometry of Earth could be measured. So he was looking at it through, you know, a flawed premise to begin with, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he renounced
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, but Newton renounced it. Don't forget about that.
They completely ignore that renunciation. They completely ignore it.
I heard you, John.
Okay. Well, hello.
All right, can we talk about what somebody posted in chat about the sextant? I posted it in Skype. This is another prominent baller. I asked him to draw me
adjacent?
something.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what that is.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did they post a curved adjacent?
I'm not sure what they posted. Maybe they can participate on the show. You want to talk about
Get them in
what
here and show
drawn?
a curved adjacent. Other than that, we don't really need to hear anything about it, right?
Well, I'm not even sure what he drawn. I was gonna ask him. That's what I wanted to ask. What he even drew? Like, I don't get it. I mean,
all right.
If he can explain himself, that'd be great. You want to come off mute?
Not really, but I can. I mean, I'll talk. It's cool.
Well, just tell me what's going on in that picture. Like, is that line straight or is that line bent?
From your angle, they should look bent. Which one are you talking about?
The line through the GP on your drawing. I shared in Skype, by the way, if you guys are interested.
It's straight from that person's perspective, but from your perspective, it should be curved.
What?
It's not a perspective issue.
Yeah, there's an objective truth here, right? It's either objectively straight or objectively curved, but it can't be both.
Relative.
No,
lines are relative.
I didn't say lines.
There's an
objective.
Akumo, there's an objective reality to these two lines, or the line. It's either objectively straight or it's objectively curved, but it can't be both at the same time.
It's relative.
No, objectively, not relative. Objectively.
I heard what you said. I'm telling you, it's relative.
How is it relative? How?
He's a dumbass.
Because from his point of view, it's straight. But from your point of view, since you're looking from a side view, it's curved.
Who's looking from a side view?
This picture is from a side view.
Not straight then from his perspective, is it? If it's curved from the side view.
Arkham virus.
You want me to
do
draw
realize
it?
that
I could draw it.
You do realize that that's a radius line, yes?
Yeah.
So our radius line's curved.
They can be.
That's the end of that.
But
I can go
it's still technically a straight line to that person. Oh shit.
All right, guys, I gotta step out. Be nice to Virus while I go.
Be nice to him.
I mean, I invited him here. I don't want you guys to hang up or anything. All right.
He needs
I'm
to be
tired of this
institutionalized. He
idiot.
needs to figure out
nice
how
enough?
he's getting out of his pants without leaving them.
Well, I'll
He's
see you
a
guys later. You guys,
moron. How's
you guys-
that? Nice enough?
Akumo,
well,
can you
see you guys
explain
later.
to me? Can you explain to me, Akumo, how it is that from the observer's perspective, if the guy that's side on to him sees it curved, how is it that the observer sees it as straight?
It's not a visual argument.
Your name's not Akumo.
Exactly.
Geometric argument.
Exactly.
It's a geometric argument. There's no visual.
That's why I'm asking him to explain it. Come on, Akumo. How can the observer see it as straight when the side-on guy sees it as curved? How is that possible?
Hello?
No. Shh. Waiting for
Okay,
Akumo
my
to
bad.
answer.
Sorry, I was still mute. All right. So if you put yourself in that person's shoes on the earth and look straight ahead, that line would appear to go straight to you. But since this view is not on the earth, it will appear curved.
No, it will appear curved. You will see it curving.
Not on the earth, you say?
No, not if you're that person.
Are you claiming the chord line as the radius?
No.
What are you actually claiming?
No,
well,
he's
why have you
claiming
got
it's
a chord in
straight,
your...
it's curved.
There's no chord.
What?
You have a chord in your diagram.
What
Isn't
I
a
got
chord
from what he was just saying.
a line that 2 points on the curve, like an actual straight line that goes through the circle?
That's a chord, yeah.
I didn't draw anything to go through the circle.
I'm pretty sure I saw something, a straight line through a circle there. I'll have to look at it again.
There's no straight line through a circle.
No, he's asserting that the circle of equal altitude that you create with that measurement has a bent radius line at this point.
Yeah, that's what I asked him. That's why I asked him about radius lines. So, yeah, that's an impossibility.
It makes two different equations.
No,
you can figure it out by just equations.
It's a geometry argument, that virus.
I know. That's why I said it's two different equations. One is for a spherical cap, which would be the one with the globe, and the flat one would just be a regular Euclidean
You're an idiot.
radius.
No, you can't
violating
have
the
a curved radius.
You're violating the law of non-contradiction. You can't have it both ways.
It's just, you ever heard of getting a radius for a spherical cap?
A radius line, is a radius line straight or curved?
It's still straight. But answer my question: have you ever heard of getting a radius from a spherical cap?
A spherical cap. I want to know. So, it's still straight. Is a radius line straight or curved?
Straight. He's answered
this one's straight.
He didn't.
He did answer
Say
it.
it again. No,
this one is straight.
One is straight. This one.
Let me ask one more time.
This is straight.
It's not.
This would be considered straight.
No, I don't care what's considered straight. Is a radius line a straight line or a curved line? Which one?
If you're looking for the radius of a spherical cap, it's going to be curved. If you're looking for a radius of just a circle,
I don't care about just spherical cap. I'm talking about a radius line.
That's what this is. This is a spherical cap. That GP is the radius of the spherical cap.
Okay, can you post? Okay. You're claiming that there's such a thing as a curved radius line. This is what you're claiming.
Yes. Getting the radius for a spherical cap.
Can you provide us, right, with something official that supports that?
Okay.
Of course he can't.
If you don't have it to hand, bring it back tomorrow.
Leave him off. He's not claiming a curved radius.
Cap. Even the definition for a spherical cap, assuming the Earth is a sphere with a radius, They're still assuming, even with the definition of a spherical cap.
Yeah, but it's the curved or
spherical
straight
cap
radius.
doesn't have to be. That doesn't have to be a part of the Earth. You could get that on a basketball.
I don't care. I don't care.
I'm talking about what he
only
just said. I'm not
interested
talking about
in this curved radius. Well, he shouldn't have come in and saying what he's saying. He should just leave you find your curved radius definition. Stop wasting our time.
Second time he's asked, where are you getting a citation for this virus? Curved radius. You said, yeah. Well, okay, citation, please.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, so while he's off doing that, radii are straight. That's a fact. You'll never find a citation that says that you've got a curved radius, because radius wouldn't be a radius if it was curved.
Correct. And I'll give you a warning. Do not mess with Brian today.
You on your period?
No, I just... curved radius lines. When someone's claiming that, like, you have to call that out. You know, you can leave a lot of things go about.
Sorry, if anybody's waiting with bated breath for Virus to provide a curved radius definition, he's not going to do that. Ever.
So let's re-ask him then. Virus, can you go and get a citation or a reference that you can rely on for the curved radius?
Or at least, where did you get that rumor from? Who told you?
I have to check. I just got to check it to make sure it says what I wanted to say first, and not just skip.
So did you just say I've just got to make sure it says what I want it to say? You mean just got to cherry pick it? You've just got to cherry pick it, right?
No,
just got to cherry pick it.
I just have to.
Sorry, having looked up definitions for radius that will make it clear they're straight, you just need to find one that backs what you're saying and cherry pick it.
He admitted he said
what have you found so far? Is it any chance, Virus, that what you found so far doesn't back what you're claiming with radii being capable of curving, which they can't? Because finding one that backs what you're saying means
it doesn't even show that either. Hold on, I'll post it for you real quick just to show you what I'm looking at.
Okie dokie. What, kind of like what we asked for about 3 minutes ago, you mean? You'll do that for us, will you? I feel so privileged given that we've been waiting for it for 3 straight minutes. Yeah.
Then wait. Talk about something else.
He won't get a definition that shows what he's claiming with this little obfuscation tactic. 3 minutes later, he hasn't cited it, he hasn't posted it, and he's now trying to make me feel like I should be privileged for this citation he's about to send and hasn't yet. Because it won't say that radii are somehow bending. They don't. It's a straight line to the centre of circle or sphere. That's what radii will be.
He didn't post a citation. He posted a reference. He doesn't know the difference between the two, and there's nothing in there that says anything about.
No, I just told you I was going to post what I was looking at.
Yeah.
No, you
I put it in mass.
Sorry, did we say, can you post a citation of what you're looking at the moment? Or did we specifically ask you to back your complete shite that radii can be bent? Because they can't, and you'll never cite anything for that. I don't want you to cite what's on your screen right now. I want you to back what you've been asked by Brian twice and me once for, which is a citation that in any way, shape or form claims what you're claiming, which is what you need as a globe-believing muppet. That would be curved radii, you Dumbo.
He's talking right through you, man.
Yo, Dumbo, radii don't curve. Yeah, I know we need you to go and get something that backs why you'd ever assert that, and you haven't done that, Virus. It's because it won't cite and back what you've claimed, because as a globe-believing muppet, you need radii to be bent, and they're not. That's just how stupid you get if you're a globe believer. You start asserting that straight lines are bent. Bent radii? No, mate, you just don't understand what a radius is and can't cherry-pick one to victory.
Cherry pick. There's no cherry picking here. He's never going to find it because it doesn't exist, like you said.
I just said, you can't cherry-pick your way to victory.
There wouldn't be even a chance to cherry pick. There's no Muppet going to say anywhere that radii are curved. Like you said, law of non-contradiction violation.
So Brian's original question was, why would you assert that, given that you can't back it in any way? I mean, you're going to answer him, Virus? Why would you say radii are bent? They're not. Is it because you've got Black Swan to contend with and can't get around it on a sphere?
Black Swan has never been a problem.
Sorry, why are you telling us that radii are bent? Dumbo, idiot, moron, globe believer? You're telling us radii are bent, they're not. You're wrong.
Yes, in differential geometry and spherical geometry, there is a way you can get the radius of a spherical calc.
Spherical calc? Is that what you said, calc?
Calc.
That's fascinating. You said radii are bent. That's where I came in. No, they're not. You're wrong. You want to concede that? Dumbo, idiot, thicko, who thinks that radii are bent? Retard, thicko. Concede you're wrong, because you are. You haven't cited it, you're wrong. Brian had you over a barrel. You've gone away to try and cherry-pick your way to victory, which we will not do. Nobody's going to say radii are bent. You, as a globe believer, have said that they are, and capable of being so, and can define it and cite it. You can't, you're wrong, you're thick. Are you going to concede this or what? Dumbo, thicko, virus, you, thicko, shit for brains, moron, fuckwit, thicko. Radii are not bent, virus, you dumb shit. Do you hear me? Thicko, Dumbo, retard. Hello? Virus, hello?
How's that for being nice, righteous?
Hello? You thick shit. Radii aren't bent, virus, you dumb shit. Can you confirm you can hear me, retard? You still looking for a cherry-picked citation, not reference, that will back this shite you asserted in defence of your globe belief? Can you concede that radii aren't bent? Is that something that you're capable of, you Weasley little shit?
I just want to know where he got it. Like, did he literally think of it himself and he just assumed it would be out there?
Oh, I can answer that.
Did he hear it from some
I can
other
answer that.
anti-flat earther?
He got it from his cognitive dissonance and necessity of his globe defence. At some point, he'll have to assert something so stupid to try and get around the fact he can't get straight lines from his globe faith and his model. So he's going to have to say radii are bent, making himself look like a complete thicko. And then when we point out, after what has it been, 7 minutes of his assertion, that's you, Virus, the guy on mute not responding to me, your dumb fuck assertion that radii are bent. He's not coming off mute saying, yeah, I was wrong, that I've had to assert this complete stupidity in order to defend my globe belief. He's not saying a word anymore. As it stands, he's off looking for a citation that radii are bent. Yet you're looking for tartan paint, you retard. You realise that?
Maybe he is writing the internet page with the citation.
I'll just send him off on that task. Yeah, while you're at it, go and get us some tartan paint, please. Plaid paint, please. Can you do that, Virus? You dumb shit. Why are you telling my audience that radii are bent? Hello? Virus, why are you contaminating my audience with this nonsense assertion that radii are bent? Just run away like a coward when you're challenged over the shite that you've spewed.
All type of stuff in there for you already.
Sorry, Mumbler, do you want to repeat that?
Said I posted a few things already for you.
Radii aren't bent, Virus. I'm asking you now why you've polluted my audience's ears with this complete nonsense. Why have you done that?
Didn't you ask me to go find the stuff? I mean, I posted it for you. You have to actually go through that look, because it's not just something I can, like, just take the words, because it's not really...
We asked for a citation.
It's
What
not really
cited?
saying what you're saying. You could just take the words, right?
No.
He's
You know what a
trying to weasel
citation
his
is?
way around. He's trying to weasel his way around the fact that he literally
Guys,
made
hold
it
on a
all
second.
down.
Virus. Just listen to what I'm saying and then try and respond. Virus. Radii are not bent. Total silence from a Dumbo. Try it once more. It's 5th time.
You didn't ask a question. You just stated something.
That's correct. I stated a fact. You are in contradiction of that fact and have stated otherwise. Fact. Radii are not bent, Virus. Do you, Dumbo, thicko, fuckwit, retard, shit for brains. Understand this statement of fact that you are in contradiction of currently and looking for a citation to disprove. You retard. Do you hear me, retard?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Right, well, let me lay it out for you, you stupid boy. Radii are not bent. You're saying they can be because you're in defence of a globe that is incapable of being defended. That's why you're doing it. That's the question on the table. Why are you doing that? Why are you saying radii can be bent? Yeah, and I'm answering it. Because he's got to defend a globe that is incapable of acquiring straight lines. So, well, straight lines can be bent. What straight line, you say? Well, a radius is a straight line virus. Dumbo, thicko, retard, shit for brains, fuckwit, moron. Are you hearing me on FM, retard?
Huh?
Is what we've got to deal with as flat earthers. Yeah? Notice he's not crying foul when I call him stupid. He's not saying, no, I'm not stupid, radii really are bent. Yeah, you poison my audience with your absolute stupidity virus, and I want to know why.
Because he's bent.
What do you mean?
I've got something that isn't stupid, if he's not going to respond. It's called Galileo's ball.
I already did.
Which is the equivalent of Anthony's egg experiment in reverse.
Tell us a bit more.
Can I share screen? It's a video, Nathan, that it's from Wikipedia. So it's an educational vid, about 20 seconds long.
Let's have a look.
It's from density and buoyancy section, but it
looks just like my egg.
Well, what it is, it's Galileo's ball. So what he's going to do, he's going to put the ball in water, and it will float on the top of the water, and then he's going to add ethanol, which is less dense than water. I think it's 0.789 grams per mil instead of 1 gram per mil, like water. So I'll press play, and it's quite a nice little experiment, you'll see.
So the ethanol is miscible with the water, right? It's blending into it rather than forming a layer.
Yeah.
Oh, look. And do you know what it's doing there? It's squashing the egg between the two density layers, just like the egg, not the egg, the ball.
They're not separate, they're miscible. So what's happening is we're reducing the density of the liquid there. So instead of it being 1 gram, it's now somewhere between 0.78 grams and 1 gram, depending on the ratio of mix that's gone there. You see that lowering of the density of the liquid means it's no longer got sufficient differential to provide any full floating. You see, it brings it down. So it's just the opposite of your egg test. Instead of increasing the density of the fluid by dissolving salt in it, we're dissolving ethanol in the water, which is less dense and occupies the space because they overflow each other, the miscible liquid. So the net effect is to reduce the density of the fluid. So
it's the opposite in the respect that Anthony's increasing the density, they're decreasing it.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, though, mine's better because when they're decreasing the density, they're also increasing the volume. So that's correlative. There's 2 variables there, not 1. I only had the 1.
Still increasing the volume when you add salt.
No, it's dissolving into the medium. It's not increasing the volume.
Yeah, it is.
It is slightly.
Depends on your definition of increasing the volume.
You sound like a baller.
No, this is totally true. There's a volume of displacement, it's called. So when you two put two things together. It doesn't just completely dissolve and have no effect on the volume. It has a volume of displacement. So it depends what it is and their rate of miscibility and stuff. But yeah, so there is a volumetric change. But what you're saying here is you're adding more liquid. You are, but that's why you start this way round with the ball floating on the top. So it's just quite clear. But that, all you're doing is changing the density of the liquid. I know you are adding more, but it's not really a volume change per se.
I'd like to get into the psychology of how somebody who's been demonstrated incorrect, hasn't managed to cite their claim that is in defence of their globe that's been debunked, can sit there on the panel and never concede that they're wrong. I want to know why Virus is refusing.
Because he can't face his own shame. He can't face his own...
He's chat skank. Oh, my God. He's chat skanking right now. Both his sources, not citations, didn't say anything about a curved radius. Nowhere in it. Now he's chat skanking. He's saying he's tripping the whole 69 nautical miles per degree as proof that the distance to the GP is curved. That's what he says in chat. That's what he's doing.
I demonstrated that claim of 69 miles per 1 degree is fallacious in the first instance because it's not a linear function before you even start moving.
Precisely. Now, don't let him red herring fallacy away. Ackenbars, are you going to give us something that says a radius is curved or what?
None of this not literally says that. You have to read it it's in the equations. That's what I'm saying. I can't just post it like that because you have to go through there and find it because it's in the equations.
No. What do you mean you won't post it like that? You've got to go there through looking for what I'm claiming is my proof. No, he hasn't. What's the equation? Tell us the equation.
Equations.
Tell us it.
It's in the form of equations.
Yeah, I heard that the first time, you fucking retard. What part of tell us what the equation is don't you understand, you absolute batshit insane moron who thinks that radii are bent?
The literal equation lets you know that the...
Don't tell me what it can do, tell me what the equation is, you stupid shit, that's twice.
Okay, you have one for flat and you have one for curve. The one for flat, well, that's common knowledge. So the one for the curve is basically the whole latitude, 69 nautical miles per degree is literally a curve.
What the fuck does that have to do with the radii being curved, you stupid idiot?
Because that's the distance to the GP.
Some massive problem with what he's after just doing. Every single one of those 69 miles are in his claim are a straight line radius to the center. Every single one of them, they're a radius to the center, straight line radius. And any of this has absolutely nothing to do with the sextant.
Yeah, the 1 degree every 69 miles, that linear function described earlier, would be acquired by an angle measurement on a flat surface. That's how you get that 1 degree change every 69 nautical miles backing away from a star that you see reducing towards the horizon. That's how you get the measurement. On your example, it's working from its presupposed centre, which requires a straight line to it. That's a radius. The same radius you've said is bent. This doesn't show that radii are bent. Quite the contrary.
Exactly, Nathan. If I have a second,
69 nautical miles per degree is literally a curved surface.
No, that's you're begging the question that the degree is coming from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. That's twice, you dumb shit. Can't you listen?
If I had a protractor, I could...
Yeah, protractor at the centre of a sphere, you're assuming. Yeah, we've just said that 3 times now, Dumbo.
Yeah, he's claiming a longitude line, which is the same length, curved or flat. None of this has anything to do with the straight line radius to the GP, except for the fact that he's claiming a curved radius. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah, curved radius, Virus.
That's exactly it. Virus, if you want to look at the page you've pulled up, I'm sharing it in G+, your spherical cap. If you look at the picture, it clearly demonstrates to you, look, that the R on your spherical cap is a straight line. All you're calculating is what you're going to cut off, what the cap is, but it's still generated from a straight R. There's no bendy R in any of this. The R is straight, and then it's applied to the sphere.
Yeah, Virus,
still straight.
This citation you posted, the radius in it is straight, as radius R. radii are straight virus, as is in your citation. It wasn't. It was a reference, and you've asked us to dig it out. And while I'm in the middle of explaining to you how stupid you are, you think you need to talk right through the middle of me, like you're doing now. Like you're doing now?
Which one are you talking about? Which one are you talking about?
The one you fucking posted, you abject twat.
It's like 4.
Shh. You've claimed radii are bent. In your diagram, the radius is straight. You fuckwit.
Which one?
The one you posted, you fuckwit. Do you think we need to talk about which one you posted? Now we're pulling apart, it hasn't got a bent radius. Yeah, I would distract away from how fucking stupid you are too, if I'd posted a reference, not citation, asked us to dig through it, and when we do, it's got a radius that's straight in it, something you're claiming is bent, and your own citation, which it isn't, it's a reference, does not show. But you think maybe chant through the middle of that virus? Chant straight through the middle of that, you think?
So can you tell me which one you're using?
Do you think we should ask 3 more times and me say 3 more times that it's the one you've just fucking posted? Do you think because you haven't cited it, you've given us a reference, that you can ask us where we've dug it out from your massive reference that isn't cited by you? So now it's going to be a discussion about where we've got it from your reference. Yeah, in your reference there's radius, it's straight. You claimed your reference would back you up in your curved radius that you haven't got, and now all you're doing is chanting straight through the middle of me.
No, I hear you. I'm just asking you, which one are you...
Yeah, I heard the first 4 times. And we've said, in your reference, we've dug out straight radii. Now, if you want to take us to your citation from your reference that shows us where it says it's bent, then we can continue the conversation. Because it's your citation supposed to be backing your claim that bent radii is a thing. It doesn't, so now maybe you can show us in your reference where it says radii are bent. It doesn't, you dumb shit.
Yeah. The answer to which one is all of them.
None of them show it's bent. You've said radii bent, none of your reference shows that. Do you understand?
Specifically,
are you calling
virus, you said the spherical cap. That was the one you kept referencing when you were beforehand. So that's the one I pulled up.
It's just chanting. He doesn't want to listen. You're getting answered. Which one? Spherical cap.
Radius? The distance to the GP is not a radius?
No.
You've said radius is bent. We've asked you to cite
Why
it.
y'all asking me about radius?
Shut up.
Because I'm talking about the distance to the GP.
Shut up. You've said radii are bent. We have gone to your citation, specifically spherical cap, that you've asked us to look at. In that citation, you do not have bent radii. Do you understand, you complete fuckwit?
Okay, that's fine. If y'all...
No, it fucking isn't if you're claiming they're bent. That's where you are wrong, shit for brains. Not all right. You are a fucking retard telling my audience that radii can bend. So when we show you in your own fucking reference that they can't, it's not okay. It's you are wrong.
And I just said if you...
Yeah, you're wrong, you fuckwit.
Then I'm okay
you're wrong.
With that.
Shut up. Let me berate you for the fuckwit you are. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Dumb fuck. Retard. You understand me, you dumb fuck? You've just poisoned my audience with bent radii. No, they are not. And when you've tried to defend it, you've taken us to something that backs the fact you are wrong. And when we point out how fucking wrong you are, you say, oh, that's all right. Other than you poisoning my fucking audience with this shite. Not okay, retard motherfucker.
Just concede you made it up, Akumu.
Concede you're wrong, you dumb shit.
Read it anywhere, you made it up.
Concede you are and were incorrect with your bent fucking radii to defend the Black Swan claim against your sphere that doesn't have straight lines. You were wrong. Bent radii aren't a thing, Virus.
Hey, I'm completely fine with that.
Well then why the fuck did you pollute my audience's ears with it, you stupid shit?
Because I was thinking the distance...
You were just thinking that was your first error, fuckwit. Don't do that again. Just thinking. Yeah, there's your first problem.
Don't y'all call the
I know
distance
what
to
you're
the
trying to
GP a radius?
say, Acom virus. Acom virus is trying to say now, so we're claiming that the line from the observer to the GP is not a straight line. That's what he's trying to claim now. Because he keeps on trying
No, it's
to
not. It's still a straight line.
force it
Yeah, we
over the
fucking
surface
know
of the
that.
sphere.
Yeah, we know it's
It
a
is.
straight line. You were claiming it's bent, you stupid retard. Is this not sinking in, Virus? You've just spent the last 20 minutes, now you're talking straight through me, defending your stupidity.
It's not a radius.
Yeah, you're going to talk straight through me?
No.
Yeah, you mute that bastard. Yeah, you've spent 20 minutes defending your stupidity, going away to try and cite the fact that radii can be bent. No, they can't. You are just a globe-believing dick.
Well, the distance to the GP is still...
Sorry, it's not a bent radii.
You made it up,
You just said it's
Akumu.
not a radius.
It's not a bent
you made it
radius.
up.
Your fucking claim is that it's bent. Now, we've spent 20 minutes with you defending this shit. No, it isn't. Do you understand now?
Do you concede that the line from the observer to the GP is a radius line, Acom virus?
Y'all just said it wasn't.
So you're saying the line from the observer to the GP is not a radius line?
The distance to the GP, I just asked you if it was the radius, and QE said no.
No, it is a GP. It is a radius.
It's not bent, you fucking retard. Yeah, we've spent 20 minutes trying to clarify whether or not it's bent because you claimed it was, you stupid dick. Now you're saying, well, you're saying it's not a radius. Hello? No, that circle definitely has a radius. It's just you have spent 20 minutes defending how bent it is.
Yeah, he just...
Yeah, well, it fucking isn't, you stupid idiot.
So is it or isn't it?
It's not fucking bent.
Are you asking us now?
It is a radius, the thing that you were defending as being bent. Now that we've proven how fucking stupid you are and how bent it isn't, according to you, yeah? Now we're going to ascertain that that line is in fact straight. That would be to the GP. That's a radius. Not bent as you were defending, straight, Virus. We're actually arguing the point for triangulation now. It's got a radius, the circle of equal elevation. You said it was bent. It is not. You've conceded.
This is so convoluted right at this point. It's a joke.
He says it's not a radius.
Okay, I'm going to
He's just trying to avoid the shame of admitting that he made it up.
Number one, he said a radius is bent. It's not. He's never going to find anything like that. The distance from the observer using the sextant to the GP is not a fucking radius. It may be a radius of the circles that you're going to draw, but it's not a fucking radius itself. So I don't know what the fuck is going on here. You tell me.
It is a
I
radius
appreciate
line.
that. Thank you, Ke. Thank you.
I didn't take you off mute. Who took him off mute?
Me.
Oh, okay.
But that is a radius line from the observer to the GP. That's what creates the
no, it
circle.
fucking ain't. Define a radius.
A straight line from the outside to the center of a circle or sphere.
The center of a circle, right? What's the circle?
What QE is saying is, unless you're defining it as an area of equal elevation, you haven't got a radius yet. You've just got a line to something. At that point, it's not a radius. When you're defining it as a circle of equal altitude, then it's a radius.
Exactly.
Well, it's defined as a radius line.
It is a radius.
So
okay,
it's not.
So we've got a radius when we're defining it to do triangulation with a circle. Then the line to the center point, which is below the GP of the star that you're measuring, that would be a radius and would be a straight line.
Is the distance to the GP a radius?
Oh my God.
Hang on. It is a radius. That's the whole point of it.
It is not
creating
a fucking radius.
Well, what's the point of it then?
Go find the fuck Brian. What in the fuck, man? Go get a definition of a fucking radius right now.
A radius, I know what a radius is.
What's
the point of doing what's the point of doing what you're doing if you're not going to triangulate?
Nathan, can you tell him again? Maybe speak slower.
Just saying that
I don't
when
need
you
to
say
speak slower, I don't need anyone condescending to me.
like, he's just criticising you for being overly concise. So when you say the distance to
overly concise.
Just hear me out.
Go on, Nathan. Sorry.
When you say the distance to the GP is a radius, no. When it's defined as a circle of equal elevation with a line of positioning, you could call it a radius. But until you define what you're actually doing, and you're just saying, is the line a radius? Well, no. What's the circle? You haven't got one yet. You haven't defined it. So you're being too concise.
But the whole point of doing what you're doing is to create the circle. So the whole point of the line is that you're creating a radius to create the circle. That's the point of it. Otherwise, what's the point? You can't triangulate yourself.
But it's not
You're 3
yet
steps
until
down
the
the line
circle
from
is
the
in
point.
Okay, meanwhile, now we're discussing this in terms of the ordering and semantics of how you make this as a claim, and that's fair enough. Perfectly reasonable. But the radius line is still not bent at any stage.
That's the point. That's why it's important to the argument. When you claim it as what it's defined as, which is a radius line, it has to be a straight line. It can't be argued in any other way. Radius lines don't curve.
Until you enter the circle of equal altitude, though, it is not a radius, though.
So it can be curved until that point?
No, that's not what we're saying either.
No, that's not what he said.
Well, there you go.
That's not what he said.
A radius line is not a curved line. It's a straight line.
Well, we know that.
We know
that's true.
That's the point of
everyone agrees on that point. Everyone agrees on that point, Brian.
Everyone except Virus, who's now conceded that. But obviously, if you're making a line of position, right, Brian, line of position, then when you do that to derive circle of equal altitude and triangulate your position 2 or 3 times, then you can't do that if the line between you and the position you're triangulating with, by way of an angle to the star above it, is curved. It can't achieve triangulation. There you go. Was that enough information to not get shouted at, QE?
Well, I think QE missed his drawing that he introduced into Discord, where he was drawing a curved distance from the observer to the GP over a circle.
Well, you can't do that. Well, you can't do that at the beginning because you can't have the curved adjacent. So it's over there.
Correct.
It's a line of position, right? That's the actual title of it before it becomes a radius for a circle of equal elevation. You're talking about the line of position, LOP. Am I correct? Or have I got that terminology wrong? 10th man's not here. I was just turning and thinking 10th man will open his mic now. He's not here. Well, there we go.
I can only understand.
No, Nathan, that's not correct. Sorry, my hands were wet. That's not correct. The line of position, because I mixed that up as well with line of sight. I was mixed up line of position and line of sight. The line of position is where that meets the circle. That's the line of position. From the line of position is where it meets. It's like a T junction where it meets the circle. That's the line. So that kind of tells you your line of position, your latitude, longitude, whatever.
Fair enough. Either way, not going to be bent. And must be bent if it's on a spherical surface. If it's bent, it's no longer a radius. Therefore, this measurement can't be done. There you go. There's the conclusion, Brian.
Well, the line has to be straight. If it's to become a radius line, it has to be.
Indeed.
That's that.
Yeah, and across the ground on a curved surface, that's never capable of being derived to do this triangulation with 2 straight lines. So what do you get from the anti-flat earther? Well, radius bent. Because that's the thing. 20 minutes later.
You don't have to get...
Go on.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
Well, I was just going to say that's what we've just had. You get to the position where you go, right, you get two straight lines that you're measuring to get yourself as a vortex, however you say it, to this star that you're measuring with a sextant and the horizon. That means two straight lines off this tool to get an angle. Where'd you get it if you've got a curved surface for one of them? And the answer from an anti-flat earther is, well, the radius, the line to the centre from your position to the centre of a circle of equal altitude or equal elevation, 2D circle, not sphere, that line is bending away from you 8 inches per mile squared. That's what that line is. It's like, well, then you can't get an angle from it anymore. And it's not a radius anymore. Well, no, radius can bend. That's where you go with the argument. That's where I came back from getting milk. It's like, hold on. Why am my audience hearing somebody on my show tell them that radii can be bent? It's infuriating. It's total bollocks. It's the defence to the indefensible. How do you do triangulation on a globe? You can't. Well, we point out that you can't do triangulation on a globe, and they tell us radii can bend. It's a bloody outrage.
I don't need to add anything to that.
But do they really, or is just Akumo virus doing that?
No, it's all of them.
Yeah, it is all of them. That's how they justify this.
Yeah, he's about the fourth or fifth who's claimed the curve radius, but directly with my involvement. So I don't know how many other times it's happened.
Is that a cognitive problem, or is that a problem in their education?
It's cognitive.
It's a need issue.
I think it's cognitive. It's cognitive dissonance. Two positions held simultaneously. So you draw a chord line, get your measurement to a position that's below the ground if you do the measurement with that trig. Because you can't, because the ground above it is curving up, increasing the distance. This was a point that Brian made really early on. What are they actually doing? They're adding on an increased distance when you triangulate, because they can only do it via a chord line that's dissecting the top of a sphere, slicing it off to give them a straight flat surface for the circle, 2D, of equal elevation. Well, when you do that and then you take the measurements, what you end up is a line that runs from your position to the centre below the star that you're triangulating, but then the ground above it is curving up and away, increasing that line's distance. So it suddenly doesn't work in the maths anymore. Why would it? It's a curved surface and not a straight one. And you're actually acquiring the angle off the ground. So to get around it, they suddenly have to have a bent radius. The line to the centre of that circle that is actually sliced off the top of a sphere to give you a chord line through it, well, that represents how we're going to be doing this triangulation, they will say. No, it isn't. That is not how you make the measurement, and it's not how you can justify it after, and if you do, you're suddenly acquiring angles that are from a presupposed spherical Earth and slicing off the top of a sphere, and you've got a curved radius to the line that moves over the top of it. Hence you have Virus saying curved radius. That's why he's got to say it.
Okay, so they know better. They're just stating otherwise.
Well, we've told him you haven't got curved radii. He's conceded it. Has he said, I understand now that when justifying how I do triangulation with a former chord line and then a curved line up over the top of it, that's going to be my radius, will you now concede that you can't do that then, Virus, for triangulation? He's not going to come off mute and say, of course I concede that I can't do this anymore in defence of this argument. Of course he's not going to do that. He'll tell me that he's got a citation and ask me whether or not we're talking about whether or not it's got a radius at all when we point out that they're not bent. So you're saying it hasn't got a radius at all? That was his last attempt to get around this.
No, what he's going to say was going to go around telling Null, go on, Kiwi, I'll talk after you.
Yeah, now I'm just saying he posted a he posted a diagram and I put it in Master B. That welcome to Flat Earth, by the way, Ackambars.
You're kidding. He's showing it making a straight line angle measurement with the sextant. That's the screen cap he sent us.
Yep.
So, number one, your bottom diagram shows a presupposed spherical Earth with straight lines going to the centre of it. They would be radii. The measurement of the angle takes place on the surface, as depicted above, taking an angle to the horizon. That's an angle measured at the surface. This isn't how the angle's taken. It's not how it's measured. It's not measured from the centre of a sphere Earth that you're presupposing with a radius that is straight. You can't take any of these measurements. You've got straight flat lines drawn adjacent to all of these curves that are representative of the various different positions on the flat terrain we actually occupy. Well, these straight lines with angles measured to them wouldn't match up if you were triangulating with them. None of them would match up. So this is a complete nonsense. Furthermore, you've also, in the same depiction, shown how you can only do this with a straight flat surface. This is the same citation from Virus, proving you can only do this on a flat plane.
Yeah, the diagram's a contradiction in itself. The top view, or the top diagram contradicts the bottom diagram of your sphere.
Exactly. Well, the bottom diagram, even though it contradicts the top diagram, won't allow you to triangulate because you don't have these adjacent angles. You don't have all of these lining up at 90 degrees anymore. The only one that's got 90 degrees is the guy on the top. So this doesn't work.
You take the one on the left-hand side, the 10-degree one on the left-hand side, and you do what they want to do with it, which is bring it to the center. Then that line won't be pointing in that direction. It'll be pointing up towards the guy's head. And every time you do anything like that, or bring anything like that to the center of their sphere, mathematically, what happens is that because the line is, that angle is constantly widening out at its extremities, you will end up with the original angle that was actually taken in reality to the star being completely different, because your angle to the angle point to the star completely changes then, because it's widening out from the center of their globe. Remember that point I made before, Nathan? This just shows. Look at the 10-degree one. Put that into the center. What happens? What direction is it pointing then? And it's going to widen out.
Yeah, you're trying to draw
from one star.
You're trying to draw a box.
All that is light from one star.
Sorry, light from one star. What are you talking about? If you're triangulating, each of these zeniths for each of these people has to be 90 degrees to one another, and they're not. This doesn't work.
That is one star. That is one.
Yeah, sorry, do you want to say it's one fucking star 5 times through the top of me? Because I heard you the first time, you fucking stupid idiot. Yeah, I heard you. 1 star. Yeah? Anything else you want to add, you complete fuckwit? Because I heard you. And I responded, to do triangulation, each of these positions must have a 90-degree zenith to each other. I.e., this guy needs to be able to create a box with this guy. And his zenith isn't 90 degrees to this guy. They don't have a box between them to triangulate their positions. It's not possible. So you are going to just fucking chant 1 star through the top of me as your response for the 2nd and 3rd and 4th time?
For that star. Nobody else will have a 90 to that star.
Yeah, that's why you can't triangulate with it.
It's 1 star. What do you mean?
But 1 star isn't over 3 people. It's over 1 person. But the zenith for both people, this guy in the middle and this guy over here, both of them can triangulate with areas of equal altitude with 90 degrees at their zenith. So both of them, if they happen to both have stars above them, can both triangulate along a flat surface. That means both of them have got 90 degrees to each other if they're capable of performing triangulation. This guy here on the left hasn't got 90 degrees to this guy here, therefore they can't create a box and they can't triangulate. Simple. It's just 1 star rebuttal that you've thrown in and are now deciding that that's the end of my sentence when I haven't paused for breath yet. Literally haven't paused for breath yet. Yeah, I'm going to take a breath now. You shut the fuck up while I do. None of them have got 90 degrees, therefore none of them can triangulate their positions with one another.
One has 90 degrees. It's only 1 star, and only one of those people on that right there should have a 90, and that's the person on top. Nobody else should have a 90 to that star.
Oh, really? So if this guy... So this guy here, yeah? This guy here represents another position that's going to be triangulated with. So he is sat... Maybe mutter through the top of my example, motherfucker.
Which guy?
Maybe mutter through the top of me making my example, motherfucker. Keep muttering, bitch.
Which guy?
Keep muttering. Yeah, if you shut the fuck up, I'll make my clear example without you fucking muttering. That means stick yourself on mute, you dumb bitch. Sorry, do you think you need to chatter and chew while I'm fucking talking? Oi, bitch, mute. Virus, you dumb fuck. Am I going to have to kick you out, you fucking retard? Because you don't know where the fucking mute button is, Virus.
Just mute him yourself.
No. I'm going to kick you out or you're going to mute yourself, you dumb bitch. Take your pick. 5, 4, good dog. Good little bitch, you do, I tell you, motherfucker. Bye-bye, cunt. Get the fuck out of my hangout. You think you're going to come off mute because I've told you you're a bitch? Is that what you think? Good dog. You stay on mute like the good bitch, subservient little fuck that you are. You know what I mean? You keep coming off mute, bitch. Good dog. Now stay there while I talk. Right, you're going to get kicked out. Fuck off. Just get out of my fucking show. Get out, stupid dick. So, there is no way of this position being capable of having a 90-degree angle triangulated from this position, if this represents the star you're triangulating with. It's no longer got a 90 degree to it. Simple. You can't do it.
I think he did that intentionally, getting kicked out. At this point, the only thing he can do is try to upset you so he can claim foul later.
Yeah, I know what he's doing. Yeah, cause the most irritation possible till I'm furious. And then while I'm making my point about how this can't be done if you haven't got 90 degrees to the two positions, if this represents the star you're measuring, yeah, you can't do triangulation on a curved surface. You need 90 degrees to the zenith of the star you're measuring. If that's this dude, then you can't triangulate on this example. What's he going to do? He's going to come off mute, cause a load of clicking and cracking, and talk through every second word I say, unless I call him my bitch, tell him to go on mute, in which case he will come off it immediately. Yeah? So he can rumpus this conclusion, and cause chaos and cry foul when that is what is being done. This is his citation, by the way. This is something he has posted.
That's a reference.
Yeah, Sorry, Kiwi.
Say again?
I spoke over top of you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're good.
Can
It's
I
a
make
rap.
a joke?
It's a rap
Can I
because
make
it's
a joke?
done. You know, it was done when he said radii were curved. Anybody with half an ounce of intelligence knows that radii don't curve. But we're going to spend 25, 30 minutes with him just basically pissing us off to get around the fact that he will not at any point concede how wrong he was in his example. The argument conclusion is so you can't do this triangulation on a sphere surface then. Is he ever going to say, yeah? Like I said at the beginning of this little diatribe. He's not going to, at the end of this, say, yeah, I was wrong. I can't do what I have claimed on a curved surface, and in order to claim I can, I've got to bend radius. No, you can't do it then. It's never going to come our way. What he will do is open his fucking mic while I'm talking, create a load of clicky distractions, talk about how it doesn't have a radius at all then. So we're saying it doesn't have a radius at all when we point out that the radius you're claiming is bent isn't bent. Suddenly it's not a radius at all. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what you're going to do. Play little stupid schoolgirl games in the schoolgirl playground you see this as. That's all he's doing.
It was
Nathan,
either
I just
that.
posted. Sorry, on.
I was just going to say it was either that or concede that he was wrong, and he sure as fuck ain't going to do that.
I just posted. I just made one little annotation to his diagram to show how absolutely ridiculous their claim is. I just posted it into Master B. Look for the red arrow. That will be the direction that his 10-degree angle to the star will be when he brings it to the center of his globe.
I've stuck it up on
Can I
screen.
make a joke?
Can you make a joke? I don't know. Are you capable?
If I'm allowed?
if you're capable.
So serious. It's a mood so serious, you know. Kumu kind of ruined it, but I just want to say we can all conclude that on a globe, a sextant only works in a submarine.
Why?
Because you have to go to the center of the Earth.
Nah, that wasn't good. No.
Ah, come on.
Boo!
Just before we lose the point, I don't mean to ruin Arwen's joke, but just before we lose the point, could you just point out the red arrow I have drawn in on that diagram, Nathan? Because that's where, as soon as they bring the angle that they're claiming they'll be able to make off a curved surface, as soon as they bring that to the center of their globe, that's the direction that the angle will be going. That's coming out at 10 degrees on his
As soon as they
protractor.
go to the center of a presupposed Earth, it's as soon as you start that line from the center, it's over.
Yeah,
Unless you're in a submarine.
I agree.
Oh, shut up, Arwen.
Come on. Come on. This was funny.
It wasn't. I find it
It's just a Kumu
infuriating.
being a dick.
I
Tired of
agree.
Akumu.
I agree. It's a Kumu being a dick, virus, Arwen, but still infuriating when you're trying to educate an audience, and all you've got is someone who comes in and loses, and then just causes a bit of chaos for 20 minutes. That's really infuriating. Why can't he concede? Well, because it means giving up his entire worldview. So you can have a bit of empathy for him, but still, that's what they've got after they lose. Cause a bit of chaos, really irritate the host, talk through everything being said, cry foul when you get kicked out for it.
But he was lost from the moment he started, because I could hear like the way he was going about. He was basically claiming, "Yeah, I got this. This is real," and he assumed that there was information about it out there. Then he tried to look for it and he couldn't find it, and he just wouldn't concede even to that point. Not to that he was just wrong, but even to the point that he made it up on the spot and then held on to it.
Well, that's why I asked about his education, because like when you're having that trouble just grasping the basic idea of geometry, I thought maybe it was an educational flaw at that point.
It sounds so familiar when you say things like that, because going back 3 years, maybe 4 years, that is what was portrayed as a sentiment by our baller or anti-flat earther opponents. Why is it that they just don't have a basic grasp of geometry and understand how spherical the world is and how geometric the Earth curve edge horizon is? Why can't they just appreciate this, stupid flat earthers? You move forward 4 years. Why is it these ball-believing clowns just can't understand basic geometry? How times have changed.
But they only understand it the way it works when it works out for the claim they want to make in the moment. Right? They're all very flexible. They can be real, but they can be unreal and make everything up on the spot like it's some kind of a Legos, and they can do whatever they want when they feel they need to. And everybody is okay with that on their side. Because that's what they do. It's all just, how do you use whatever is available to justify it's a globe? Whether you use real physics and real geometry, or whether you have to kind of make it up on the spot, they don't care. As long as there's a consensus at the end, it's a globe.
I should point out that before that kicked off and I got really angry, I was the one taking Virus off mute while QE had said this conversation's drawn a close, it's reached its conclusion, and I let it go on, just so I could shout at him.
So Nathan, put him on mute so you can take him off mute and demean him.
That's exactly what I did before kicking him out.
You like doing
everybody to be nice.
You like doing that, and he likes having it done to him.
Yeah, that exactly. That's why I kicked him out, because at some point you've got to recognise that we are dealing with masochists, and they like being told off by me. So at some point I'm not a sadist. I don't enjoy telling you off. I actually do want you to concede. So me getting annoyed is just the point that you can get lost.
Well, just to make my point, like if you walked in to any school anywhere in this realm we live in, and you walked up to the math teacher and said, radii are bent, you're a moron if you disagree, they would never stop laughing at you, and there's no way you would pass that class. But in this discussion, I was just going to say, but in this discussion, I doubt anyone will call him out for saying that.
No.
Well, it seems to be a trend now.
What seems to be a trend?
A trend?
Claiming
They've been doing that since the beginning.
Radius.
They've been doing it since the beginning. That's all they do. Right?
Go on, Brian.
They just make shit up, and no one calls them out for it. Unless you get some flat earther on there that, you know, has some semblance of an idea where he's at, right? It's not going to happen. They'll just do it their stupid laugh and call flat earthers dumb, and they're the dumbest fucks on the face of the plane. You got one right here. You got extremicist that thinks frigging stars rotate in 2 different directions. You can go. I don't think he's going to talk to me, Nathan. You might want to hit him up for that.
Well, I watched your video from, I think it was last night. You debated some dude that was trying to claim it, and you were asking him for his concession before he got into his experiment, and he just wouldn't give it. And the people around you are like really trying to take the bait because there's a stonewalling guy that's just saying, no, I'm not going to move on from this point unless we can discuss the validity of the experiment. I'm not going to carry on the conversation. And you're saying, why are you doing an experiment on something that's 106 years out of date when I've given you 3 citations that make it absolutely abundantly clear that it's out of date and superseded by Newtonian mechanics? Why are we going to discuss this experiment? Pseudoscience experiment. Yep. His response, unless we're going to talk about the experiment, I'm not going to continue the conversation. Now, as that continues, the people around get more and more frustrated, and they don't realise that the pressure that they see building isn't for them to release. You know what I mean? Don't be that, the pressure's not on you, so just chill. The pressure's on him. But they all want to release the valve because I just think people in this discussion are far more empathetic to the people that we're opposing. So they sense and feel the pressure and want to relieve it for them. Let's just let him beg the question a little bit, because that'll relieve the pressure. You're like, no.
Valve in the sky.
No, not until he concedes why and explains why he's utilising 106-year out-of-date pseudoscience. No, not unless we discuss the pseudoscience will I continue this conversation. That was the end of the conversation for him. That's as far as you can take it. But I liked it. You kept on doing it. That's what you should do.
Well, they tried to hold you hostage to make you presuppose in their situation. Rumpus used to do that a lot, if you remember.
Well, I can give you an example of Kosho. I can give an example of Kosho doing it with QE on a genetic mutation causing genes, because you'd have to have the genes before they could mutate, and QE was calling him on it, but he wouldn't accept that he was begging the question. So it was. I think it took like 30 minutes I think it eventually just got glossed over. Like he never conceded. He never accepted that, you got to have the genes first before you can claim any kind of mutation of those genes. Like he never acknowledged it. I don't know if it's a tactic or if it's just stupidity.
Certainly a tactic in law. Once you've committed to your position in law, that's it. You can't change your position. That looks very bad legally. So from that position, if it's same with Rumpus in terms of his lies, once you've lied, you can't change your position back again. You've got to commit to it 100%. And that's what they do.
Right, so if they stick themselves to certain presuppositions, then they can't do without it anymore, and they just try to blackmail you, force you into it, or they'll stop the conversation, and it'll be your fault.
Yeah, that's why they don't come here. Sorry, Q, go ahead.
Let's get to something specific, though. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, go ahead, Kiwi.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to Extremistus and his two directions of the stars. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't think he's going to talk to me because I just waste him every time I discuss it. So
no, I
maybe,
won't talk to you.
So maybe Nathan. Yeah, that's a good fucking idea. Maybe Nathan, you can ask him about
only
that.
If you promise you won't. Only if you promise you'll pop yourself on mute and not interrupt the conversation with Extremistus, who was reasonable yesterday when we were discussing stuff with him.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll go on
trying to
mute.
get my son back on the ball.
I'm gonna have to do it for Neil too.
I'm on the train, so I didn't get what you were saying. I'm sorry.
Don't fundy mute Extremistus, even if he says something that doesn't bode well with your worldview. Is that cool by you, Neil?
Yes, it's cool by me. Go.
I cannot participate, unfortunately. I'm actually working right now. I'm just listening.
Well, if you can just drop in the odd answer, that's all I'm asking. Did you see QE's video that we're talking about with the dude that was claiming antipodal star rotation?
I don't know that I saw a video. I've heard several different discussions.
Do you know the outcome of the argument already?
I do, yes.
So you know that absolute directions aren't going to be achieved with counterclockwise and clockwise rotation then?
Sure.
See? There we go. End of argument. Didn't even need to be had. He knows the end of the argument. At least he's honest. Bloody hell.
He didn't watch the video. He sure commented underneath my video right before I fucking deleted it.
Oh, that one. Sorry, I didn't realize that was the one you were referring to.
Yeah, he's referring to that one.
Yes.
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
now
Is
I
that
know
me?
which one you're talking about.
I think I'm causing feedback. Sorry.
I did watch part of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched about 10 minutes of it.
Oh, well, that was enough. Easy to know that clockwise and anti-clockwise, you just turn around or cross the street in that example.
Yeah, if I'm in my back garden, I can turn north, south, east, or west. And by turning, I can make the stars appear to be moving clockwise or anti-clockwise, depending on what direction I'm facing. And when I lived in Australia, I could do the same thing. Exactly the same thing. There was no difference.
But north and south, even, begging the question of hemisphere or not, they all move from east to west.
Yeah, if you were standing in Australia and you're facing north, if I'm facing north standing in Australia, the stars are coming over my right shoulder and going towards my left shoulder. If I turn around and face south, the stars are coming over my left shoulder and going towards my right shoulder. And it's exactly the same in my back garden in Ireland.
But yeah, it's not a proof of a sphere. It's just a way of assuming hemispheres and getting into an argument about whether or not this happens on hemispheres, in my opinion. Because it's a nonsense claim to begin with. It certainly doesn't prove we're on a sphere.
Well, how can it be proof of anything if you can do the exact same thing with the exact same effect on at any part of the world, either side of the equator?
It doesn't, but that's my point. So long as you can beg the question that it proves a sphere, and the point of the argument isn't to prove that all stars are actually changing their direction and going west to east in the southern hemisphere. That isn't the point. The point is to just drop the word hemisphere in as an anti-flat earther. As long as you drop that word in, then you've begged the question successfully, and you can argue about it all day long with the assumption of spherical halves being the observation point. Did you want to add something, Iroquois?
He's adding a lot of background noise. You got a hot mic, Iroquois.
Okie doke. There he goes. I know. He popped himself on mute just before your server muted him.
Oh, okay.
He's on mute now. Thank you. Yeah, as long as you can get the begging the question fallacy in. Same with Coriolis effect. So long as you can assume that the example takes place on a turning reference frame. Doesn't matter if there's drift or not from their point of view. Doesn't matter if they're arguing for there being 15 degrees an hour drift, actual Coriolis observation observed from the turning reference frame, or no drift observed from the turning reference frame. Well, why would that be the case? Why would it be the case that they don't care whether they argue for drift or against it? Well, because in both cases they're talking about something turning, aren't they? Well, that's all good for them. You got both cases are arguments that start and end with Earth turning. So they don't give a shit. They don't care how stupid they look either.
No, you're giving them too much credit. No, that's I don't think that's the case. No. They think that they could say counterclockwise and clockwise star rotations, and that's it. That they think that they've proven that the Earth is spinning. No, that's it. I'm serious. That's it. It's unbelievably stupid. They can't think on their feet. They can't go any further than that to say, oh, crap, it's relative to the direction I'm facing. Counterclockwise and clockwise, left and right, up and down, forward and backward. Those are just relative directions. You could change them based on, right, on the other's position. It's so stupid. They just blurt it. They just bagak it. Antipodal star rotation. That's it. No, you're giving them too much credit.
Well, perhaps it's not them then, in terms of the presenter, but the way the argument's been formed in the first instance by whoever formed that argument. The purpose was to beg the question, because it is in every instance. However the argument's formulated, the only real purpose of the argument isn't to prove whatever they're trying to claim, because it never pads out on a sphere, because we're not on one. So, what's the point of any argument? Well, just to beg the question. As long as they beg the question, normally they'll do it within the first 2 seconds of the argument.
John LeBon, that's it. The flat earther, John LeBon. Well, I don't know if he was a flat earther then, but it was John LeBon. The first time I heard it, it was John LeBon bringing this up. Remember?
Yeah.
I actually heard it.
He still claims it.
I know he does. Remember we whipped him around by his short hairs in here? Well, we didn't. I did.
The first time I actually heard it was on the Principal movie. The people that made that, they done an interview afterwards, and the guy that directed it formulated it with Southern Hemisphere and Northern Hemisphere. So that was the first time I ever heard it.
Did he say counterclockwise and clockwise?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he said the stars turn in one direction in the Southern Hemisphere and in the other direction in the Northern Hemisphere. And then somebody asked something else. He said, yeah, counterclockwise and clockwise. Yep.
Yep, there you go. Yep. As soon as they say direction, it's over. They're conflating counterclockwise and clockwise with absolute directions. It's as easy as that. It's so funny. As soon as you make the next step, if you say that the stars are moving in different directions, then in the north, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, and in the south, the sun rises in the west and sets in the east.
Right, so can I just summarize it in a statement that I've taken from you? Or do you want to do it?
No, go ahead.
All the stars, sun and moon, save for Polaris, rise in the east and set in the west.
Yep.
Anyone want to add anything to that?
That's the end of the argument.
It is the end of the argument, but I'm just asking if anybody else wants to add anything. If not, I'm going to round out. Clearly not. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the PayPal link, helping me out with my entropy issues that I'm having with my equipment, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
bloody day!